Hello everyone. If you like this audiobook and want to listen to more, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, like it as well, that it enjoy.
Chapter 1. A Small Step for a Slime. In his past life, Luka died because of an enraged mother who shot him with a .38 caliber pistol. Luka remembers in detail the micro-expression of that woman who was foaming at the mouth, yelling at him for having sent her son to the hospital in a karate match. "You don't have the guts to shoot me." He crossed his arms with a provocative smile. Yes, he admits, he was foolish. No, actually, he was very stupid. Why did he even believe she wouldn't shoot and kept provoking her? At this point, he was wrong, and very wrong. Only when she pulled the trigger did Luka realize the stupidity he had done. "You think I don't have the guts to shoot you? Because of you, my baby is now in a hospital bed." Those words still echoed in his mind, followed by the sound of gunpowder exploding, and then, everything went dark for him. It was a precise shot, right in the middle of his forehead. While he thought it was his end, Luka opened his eyes and discovered that he had reincarnated as a slime. Yes, that's right, he became a gelatinous ball that only knew how to jump and eat all kinds of trash, flowers and weeds he saw ahead. Let's be honest, when he became a slime, he even thought he could evolve and that this was actually his big chance. However, after living a month eating trash and weeds, trying in every possible way to awaken a system or any ability that would differentiate him from his peers, he was disappointed. First of all, his consumption was slow, he absorbed and dissolved things in his body every day, but didn't feel any significant change. Secondly, slimes were extremely fragile. He saw several of his kind being killed in the most ridiculous ways possible. There was one that literally jumped to its death, jumping directly onto a sharp rock. Another jumped into a nearby river, being carried away by the water and, well, if it was lucky, it might have survived, but Luka highly doubted it. "You have been chosen." Luka felt like he heard it wrong. In his mind, he could swear that someone spoke to him, saying that he had been chosen. Suddenly, a rift opened, sucking him in. He wanted to scream, but he had no vocal cords. -0. Luka finally felt that he had fallen onto something. What is this? He opened his round eyes wide. A corpse. The body was tangled in dry branches at the edge of the river. You acquire the skill, Predation. Function. Absorbs the target into the body or into a storage space. If the target has its own will and resists predation, the success rate is greatly reduced. If lucky, it is possible to gain the mimicry of the target from this skill. Seeing this screen, Luka trembled. Finally, something good has happened to me since my reincarnation as a slime. Deep down he knew he wasn't born to live as a mere slime that eats trash and weeds. Seeing the corpse, strangely he didn't feel repulsed at the thought of using the newly acquired ability. By the way, this corpse seemed to be a ninja from the clothes he wore, or even from the headband with a symbol that was strangely familiar. Anyway, he didn't want to think about that now. He mentally commanded, Predation. As soon as he transmitted his intention, his body transformed into a kind of gelatinous blanket, swallowing the entire body. The target was dead, so there was no warning of resistance. After swallowing the entire body, he became a huge golden slime. He began to pulse like a beating heart while inside his body. The ninja's corpse began to dissolve. Maybe it was his imagination, but Luka felt that he was getting stronger with each passing second. When it finished, almost being carried away by the river's current, he clung to the branches as he returned to his original size. That was when a holographic page appeared. Predation successful. You acquire basic human senses. It becomes possible for you to transform into a human. Power source chakra acquired. Plus 200 XP plus 20 points plus 200 bonus points. Shop and status. Unlocked. 1, 2, testing. Noticing his own voice, which was very similar to the voice he had in his previous life, Luka became very excited. It was terrible not being able to speak. Suddenly, a flood of memories that did not belong to him invaded his brain. Seconds turned into minutes and, almost 10 minutes later, Luka came back to himself. I knew I had recognized that headband, but I didn't expect it to really be the world of Naruto. Was he happy to know that? Well, if his wide smile is an answer, then yes, he was happy. A world of violence, I mean, ninja, here, he could be himself. Of course, he was also surprised because he discovered that the world he believed only existed in fantasy had become real. However, after being reincarnated as a slime, he stopped being skeptical about many things. Leaving that aside for now, his focus returned to the ninja he used predation on. This ninja actually belonged to the Hidden Leaf Village. His name was Kakuku. A very creative name, isn't it? Kakuku, besides being an orphan, was a mere genin ninja, despite being over 40 years old. But, seeing his memories, Luka could only say that besides being born without talent, he was someone very lazy. How the hell did he expect to become strong just by doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats and running 10 kilometers? Who does he think he is, Saitama? If he had shaved his head, maybe he would have a bit of his respect. Anyway, Kakuku couldn't stand being called useless anymore, so he jumped off a cliff, falling headfirst onto a rock. Well, Luka didn't judge him that much. After all, there were others who, even being talented enough to become Hokage, still, just for being criticized a little, put a rope around their neck and did the opposite of living. Luka didn't have a candle to light for the deceased, but at least he made 2 gelatinous hands come out from the sides of his body, joining his hands in a prayer. Exactly 1 minute later, Luka opened his eyes. So, what should I do next? He murmured. In fact, he already had an answer to that question. It's just that it had been so long since he spoke, that he wanted to talk a little. I'm not going to end up like those weirdos who stand near the subway talking to themselves, am I? A shiver ran through his gelatinous body. Shaking his head, his entire body, he thought, it's time for me to see what I look like in human form. In the reflection of the water, Luka saw his golden form with golden eyes. A good color, worthy of him. Okay, he got carried away again. Closing his eyes, he issued the command to transform into a human. When he opened his eyes, he saw the transformation happen in real time. It was like seeing gelatin stretch like rubber, taking on a human shape, then changing color to a more pinkish, human tone. Hands, feet, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, hair. It happened in a matter of seconds, but for Luka, it almost happened in slow motion. When it finished, he let out a long sigh of relief. My little friend, it's good to have you back. He got emotional. Shifting his attention to his own body, he murmured, perfect. No irregularities, no matter what angle I look from, I look human. A small, but important detail. He transformed into a human, yes, that's correct. But, everything has a catch. Just like Luffy of the Straw Hat is human, but in a way was made of rubber, being able to stretch and expand. Luka was still a slime. In fact, Luka had even greater control in a certain sense. For example, he tried to be the size of a child and succeeded, then changed to an adult version with 1.9 meters in height. Even making one arm larger, basically adult-sized while appearing as a child was possible. For now, he shrank and took on the appearance of a 10-year-old boy with long golden hair and golden eyes. I think I might be a little more handsome than Jensen Ackles. He thought while smiling at his own reflection. First mission unlocked, a small step for a slime. Objective: infiltrate Konoha. Reward: scroll with the multiple shadow clone technique. The holographic screen that suddenly appeared before him annoyed him a little, but upon seeing the description, all his irritation vanished. Instantly, the corners of Luka's lips rose. His smile was almost as cute as Nanaka's. Luka could already imagine in the near future himself using this jutsu to create thousands of golden slimes, devouring everything in their path. Chapter 2: Devouring a Descendant of the Gods. Status: open corner bracket Luka. Species: slime. Title: none. Level: 1 201,000. Points: 220. Techniques: Predation Platinum LV.10.2%, Dissolve Bronze LV.158%, Absorption Bronze LV.159%, Restoration Bronze LV.11%, Mana Perception Iron LV.998%. Chakra Nature: Earth Style Iron LV.999%, Yin Style Iron LV.132%, Yang Style Iron LV.155%. Power Source: Natural Energy Iron LV.311%, Chakra Bronze LV.18%. Resistances: Pain Resistance Iron LV.188%, Pierce Resistance Iron LV.171%, Spiritual Attack Resistance Iron LV.16%. Jutsus: Clone iron LV 0.844%, transformation iron LV 0.992%, substitution iron LV 0.81%, leaf hurricane iron LV 0.916%, demonic illusion, hell viewing iron LV 0.389%, body flicker iron LV 0.40.9%. Iron, bronze, platinum. He asked, "System, how exactly does this work?" Responding to his doubt, a holographic page appeared. Each element, from techniques to power sources, is classified as follows. Less than iron level 1 to 9 greater than, less than bronze level 1 to 19 greater than, less than silver level 1 to 29 greater than, less than gold level 1 to 39 greater than, less than platinum level 1 to 49 greater than, less than emerald level 1 to 59 greater than, less than diamond level 1 to 69 greater than, less than master level 1 to 89 greater than, and less than grandmaster level 1 to 100 greater than. Note, if in less than iron greater than level technique reaches level 9 with 100%, it will have a chance to evolve to less than bronze 1 level 0% greater than. When Luka finished reading, he opened his status again. Seeing that Earth style was close to evolving, Luka wondered if Kakuzu, if he had persisted a bit longer, might have managed to improve his own Earth style. Or perhaps it is because of this limitation that he never reached 100%, thus not having the chance to improve his Earth style. It was understandable as well. After all, not everyone has the chance to receive Hashirama's cells and, from an ordinary ninja, transform into a powerful ninja. Putting that aside for now, Luka murmured softly, "Shop. Open corner bracket, shop. Current points. 220. Skills and items. Spatial motion gold LV.1 allows the user to instantly travel to any location they have already visited or whose coordinates they know. The only drawback is that it consumes a large amount of chakra natural energy 10,000 points. Thought acceleration gold LV.1 increases thought processing speed 1,000 times 5,000 points. Devil's Pieces, a set of 16 chess pieces given to high-class devils to increase their ranks by reincarnating other beings into devils. Note, if the host buys this set and uses the king piece on themselves, they will gain devil mimicry, as well as be recognized as the owner of the other 15 pieces, being able to reincarnate other living beings into devils. 100,000 points. Magic towel that cleans any stain, a towel that can not only clean any stain from the body, but also body hair, which can leave the user bald. 300 points. Consumables. Lose memory, a potion that makes the user temporarily lose their memory. 200 points. Super antidote, an antidote that can instantly detoxify any poison. 1,000 points. Hair growth, a potion that makes hair grow quickly. 200 points. Resurrection cross, they can be used by the host at LV.50 and below. Full resurrection is 10 seconds, single use. 10,000 points. Lottery spin, 100 points. Note, for a new item to appear, you need to remove an item from the shop, a new random item will replace it. Luka, seeing what was for sale, became excited. Many things for sale caught my attention. Luka thought, I want to acquire the thought acceleration skill, I also want the devil's pieces, but God knows when I'll have enough points for that. Spatial motion is also very good, but first, I want to save up and buy the resurrection cross. The resurrection cross was a fantastic item. Despite the price, it was a second life. Having something like that would provide him with more security. That said, he was curious to know what he could get from the lottery spin. Using his gelatinous hand, he clicked open corner bracket quantity, 1 lottery spin, 2 lottery spin. Buy now, 200 points. After selecting 2 lottery spin, he clicked on buy now followed by use now. 1. Rosword Charlo's template. 2. Briefcase with gold bars, 100 gold bars of 1K 99.9%. Notice, the items have been deposited in your stomach storage space. Luka blinked. The result of the lottery spin did not change, which meant he was not seeing things. So, can I obtain something like templates of characters from fictional worlds? Yes, a short and simple answer echoed in his mind, answering all his doubts. Honestly, he even expected that he might end up getting something like a roll of toilet paper. Yes, his expectations were really low. Is it in my stomach? Luka asked. System, how do templates work, whether to summon or to assimilate the character? Summoned characters start with 50% loyalty, but that does not mean this value cannot decrease, leaving or worse, turning against the host. When assimilating a character, depending on the host's mental defense and the target's mental strength, your mentality and way of acting may be affected. It was something more disadvantageous than he expected. Taking the Rosword Charlos template out of his stomach, Luka noticed that it looked a lot like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. On this card, there were two options that stood out: summon, assimilate. Instead of choosing one immediately, Luka returned to his slime form. With the card in a gelatinous hand form on the left side, he made another hand appear on the right, clicking on the summon option on the card. Escaping from his hands, the card began to shine, soon like a smoke bomb. A curtain of smoke covered the area in front of him, soon being replaced by a very fat man with snot running from his nostrils. His clothing consisted of a thick white suit that looked like a space suit, with medals or buttons, with a green collar and a resin bubble that guarantees him an oxygen supply. When Charlos appeared from the curtain of smoke, he was in a sitting position, so he fell on his butt on the ground. "Ah!" Shouting, he exclaimed, "That hurts." Luka didn't even give him time to understand what was happening, using predation, choosing him as the target, saying, "Hi, and goodbye." What is this?" Charlos struggled with his hands, trying to get out, shouting, "You insolent! Do you know who I am?" Like a snake, Luka wrapped Charlos's body with his gelatinous body, making the front part take the shape of his slime face, and replied, "Yes, a nobody who is about to be devoured by me." In a few seconds, Luka managed to completely envelop Charlos. Blub, blub, blub. Now in Luka's stomach, he struggled uncontrollably like never before, with his body being dissolved by something acidic, but even after minutes, he still persisted stubbornly. Absorption bronze increased to LV.2. Dissolved bronze increased to LV.2. Almost an hour later, even as raw flesh, Charlos still did not die and continued struggling. He is more resilient than I could imagine. For Luka, Charlos was just a nobody, but it seemed he was mistaken, or perhaps he himself was simply very weak right now, and that's why it was taking so long. Charlos continued to use his hands and feet to try to get out, even his mouth, trying to tear him apart with his teeth. Perhaps this is the first time in his entire pathetic little life that he made so much effort. Restoration bronze increased to LV.2. 12 hours, 23 minutes and 10 seconds later. Absorption bronze increased to LV.3. Dissolve bronze increased to LV.3. Restoration bronze increased to LV.3. Open corner bracket predation successful. 1. Superhuman vision silver LV.100% acquired. 2. Superhuman physique gold LV.100% acquired. 3. Plus 1500 EXP. 4. You leveled up. 5. Plus 150 points. 6. Bonus. Plus 500 points. It was a constant struggle. Honestly, he did not expect that Charlos would resist for that long, but it finally ended and all his efforts were worth it. Chapter 3. Dragonfly. Getting naked from the waist up, Luka sat by the river with his feet in the water. The insects near the river provided him with a pitiful amount of express. Each insect yielded him on average 0.01% express. It took almost 100 insects to yield a single point of express. But that didn't matter compared to the main reason he was devouring the insects. Luka murmured quietly, "Maybe they are too small." But the next notification shows that not everything was in vain. Chakra nature. Water style iron LV.100% acquired. Technique. Hydraulic propulsion iron LV.100% acquired. Plus 50 XP. Plus 5 points. Slowly but steadily, he managed to devour the river water through his feet. It wasn't exactly fast, but it opened many doors for him. Luka's feet remained in the water. Constantly using predation, he notices that the predation speed increased by about 30% compared to before. If I devour an entire forest, is there a chance I can obtain wood style? He swallowed hard just imagining that happening. At the moment, that was nothing more than a dream, an illusion. His predation speed wasn't high enough to be able to do something like that in such a short time. It would take days, months, or years to be able to devour an entire forest. But it's worth trying to do that with some trees later, he thought. Everything, or almost everything, begins as a simple dream. But only by trying does it stop being a mere illusion and, who knows, one day it may become reality. Insects, something he hated, especially when he went to waterfalls and came back home covered in bites. Now, He could barely wait for the insects to be attracted to him. Distracted, he didn't notice that a dragonfly landed on his shoulder and, in autopilot mode, the dragonfly was swallowed by his body, being digested. Successful predation. You acquire the basic instincts of a dragonfly. 360-degree vision iron LV 0.100% acquired. Dragonfly wings iron LV 0.100% acquired. It becomes possible for you to transform into a dragonfly. +1 XP. +1 bonus points. Luka stood up. It was an unexpected result, but it also worked for his objective. Storing all his clothes, Luka transformed into a dragonfly. Instinctively, Luka knew how to fly. His mode of flight was similar to that of a helicopter. Luka managed to see his reflection in the water. Although he didn't know the color of the dragonfly he devoured earlier, the transformation made him golden, with 12 centimeters in length and a 13 centimeters wingspan across both pairs of wings. His vision in this form seemed even better, to the point where everything appeared to be in slow motion. When he moved, he was even faster than he could imagine. In a matter of seconds, he reached a speed of 50 km/h. This is even better than I expected to achieve, he thought. Dragonflies are extraordinary aerial predators. When Luka tried to catch an insect, he was basically so fast that the insect didn't even have a chance to escape. +0.01% express. Flying with his tiny body, Luka continued gaining altitude until he reached the upper part of this area. Seconds later, he was already about 14,000 feet above ground level. With his 360-degree vision, it became easy for him to find the tall walls surrounding the hidden leaf village. So, it's not very far from where I am. That was good news for him. Obviously, he didn't forget the mission he received. Now that he knew the location of the hidden leaf village, he wasn't in a hurry to go there. Before going, it was better to get at least a little stronger. -0. A few days later. Status. Open corner bracket. Luka. Species. Slime. Title. None. Level. 2 885 2000s. Points. 712. Techniques. Predation Platinum LV 0.15.8%, Dissolve Bronze LV 0.518%, Absorption Bronze LV 0.519%, Restoration Bronze LV 0.411%, Mana Perception Iron LV 0.999%, Superhuman Vision Silver LV 0.110%, Superhuman Physique Gold LV 0.121%, Hydraulic Propulsion Iron LV 0.853%, 360-degree vision iron LV 0.899%, Dragonfly wings iron LV 0.774%. Chakra nature. Earth style iron LV 0.999%, water style iron LV 0.999%, yin style iron LV 0.250%, yang style iron LV 0.322%. Power source. Natural energy iron LV 0.442%, chakra bronze LV 0.811%. Resistances. Pain resistance iron LV 0.219%, pierce resistance iron LV 0.217%, spiritual attack resistance iron LV 0.199%. Jutsus. Clone iron LV 0.888%, transformation iron LV 0.997%, substitution iron LV 0.833%, leaf hurricane iron LV 0.929%, demonic illusion. Hell viewing iron LV 0.41%, body flicker iron LV 0.42%. Compared to the day he arrived, he improved a lot. However, he started to stagnate. If everything goes as I planned, I'll be able to infiltrate safely. Flying in dragonfly form, Luka was only 100 meters away from the village entrance gate. The day was clear and sunny. There were some ninjas at the guard post, two taking care of the gate. The entrance was immense. Even the people looked tiny in comparison to those gates. Acting like a dragonfly, not wanting to be discovered, Luka got closer and closer. Even after passing through the gates successfully, he didn't relax. Flying to the top of a tree, he observed for a few seconds before moving to the next. It didn't take long for him to find the place he was looking for. This has to work, he said to himself. Patience is a virtue. Luka waited patiently for the right moment to act. Several hours later, night came. Luka finally moved. Memory loss, a potion that makes the user temporarily lose their memory. 200 points. Note: the duration of memory loss varies between 1 day and 9 months. 200 points. A potion entered the storage of his stomach. It was a somewhat risky gamble, but the result would be good enough to be worth the risk. Still as a dragonfly, he flew until he reached in front of a wooden door. Landing on the ground, from his stomach came out a handcrafted baby basket, followed by a thin blanket, and then, he changed form, transforming into a human, or rather, into a baby inside the basket with simple clothes. In the basket, there was also a piece of wood with Luka carved on it. Closing his baby eyes, Luka began to dissolve the potion vial in his stomach, and soon the contents worked their magic. Complete memory loss, even if temporary. The moment it took effect, Luka, in baby form, began to cry. Inside the house, a beautiful red-haired woman heard the cry of a baby. That cry caught her attention, making her stop washing the dirty dishes, drying her hands on her dark blue apron with an orange spiral symbol. Click. As she opened the door, she brought both hands to her mouth. She didn't stay in shock for long. Running, she tried to find who had the courage to abandon a baby in front of her door. However, no matter how much she tried, she was surprised to find that she wasn't able to locate who did it. Returning, she stood before the basket with the baby inside. She crouched in front of the basket, soon exclaiming in a gentle voice, "Wow! Aren't you the cutest little thing in this world? How cruel or desperate must someone be to have the courage to abandon you?" When she picked him up in her arms, the crying ceased, and with his hands waving in the air, the baby began to laugh while trying to reach her face. Seeing this, an indescribable shine passed through the clear eyes of the beautiful woman. She smiled, saying in a very soft and gentle tone, "Hello, little friend, aren't you adorable?" Chapter 4. Adopting Kushina and Minato. 8.5 months later. Day 05 of August. Mission Infiltrate Konoha successful. The scroll with the multiple shadow clone technique has been deposited in your stomach storage space. A beautiful baby with short golden hair, who had his eyes closed while being breastfed, opened them, revealing his beautiful golden eyes. A mixture of confusion and intelligence shone in his eyes. In a fraction of a second, Luka became aware of everything that had happened in the last months. Taking his lips away from around the breast that was feeding him, he saw the beautiful crimson-haired woman look at him with maternal love. Already satisfied, she touched the tip of his nose with her index finger and smiled lovingly. Months living as a baby made him an expert at it. Babbling, he let out a little laugh as he said, "Mama, Mama." She laughed pleasantly. "That's right, it's baby's mama, Databane." After adjusting her clothes, picking him up in her arms, she left the room with him. Luka lay with his head on her chest while reflecting on many things. He thought, "This took much longer than I expected, but the result couldn't be better." It was a gamble from which he came out victorious. "Kushina, don't overexert yourself." A blonde man who was talking with another man with long white hair interrupted mid-sentence, standing up and going toward her. "You worry too much, Minato." She smiled. "I'm fine, really. Papa." Luka stretched his arms toward him. Even saying that, she felt sweet inside, handing Luka over to Minato's arms. Holding Luka with one hand, with the other he used to rub Kushina's belly, Minato says, "It's so big. It must be soon that our child will get to know the world." It was possible to notice how excited and happy he was just by the tone of his voice. Kushina laughed a little, touching Luka's face on Minato's arm. "Are you excited to become an older brother?" "Kiki," he babbled. "Kiki." Kushina repeated those words, but didn't think much of it, smiling back. Minato says, "I bet he is, look how happy he seems." Kushina snuggled against Minato's chest. "Yes, and the four of us will be a happy family." Cough. Jiraiya, who was there visiting, felt like he could get diabetes from how sweet they were being with each other. "Damn, I want to get married too, I want to have a wife and children." Wait. Jiraiya felt a chill down his spine, becoming frightened by his own thoughts. For him, that was a scary thought. Maybe not if he managed to marry the woman he could never forget over the years. Clearing his throat, he forced himself to hide those confusing feelings deep in his mind. "Sorry, Jiraiya-sensei." Even though he said that, Minato didn't seem guilty at all. Stretching his arms toward Jiraiya, Luka babbled, "Gigi, Gigi. Look, Jiraiya-sama, your grandson wants you to pick him up." Kushina said with a smile. Jiraiya was moved. He went over to them. "Come with Grandpa Jiraiya." Now, even he was part of the harmonious atmosphere that had formed. A baby's life was not easy. Luka was almost never alone. Well, it was the choice he made. He was the one who wanted to adopt Kushina and Minato as his parents, that's why he doesn't regret anything he did, but now that he has recovered his memories, it became harder to keep acting like a baby. Another thing, the 8.5 months of memory he had showed how much they loved him. Now, only when night came, and his parents went to sleep, did Luka stay alone in the crib, in the room next to theirs. Seeing that the door was half open, he hesitated a bit before taking the scroll with the multiple shadow clone technique out of the storage in his stomach. Thanks to Kakuku, he was able to read what was written. And, with his enhanced vision, even in the dark, he was able to see. Minutes later, I see, so that's how it works. It wasn't difficult to learn this jutsu, especially considering that he was already very good at the clone jutsu. He kept reading. Almost an hour later, you learned multiple shadow clones, silver LV 0.100%. Before he could celebrate, Luka heard the sound of footsteps. Immediately, he returned the scroll to his stomach, then pretended to be asleep. -0. Luka, who only wanted to pretend to be sleeping, ended up falling asleep for real. When he woke up again, it was still dark outside. Looking toward the door, using mana perception, he stood up, forming hand seals, shadow clone jutsu. Beside him, 2 clones exactly identical to him appeared. Immediately, the 2 clones transformed into dragonflies. The mimicry was perfect. It was as if they were 2 ordinary dragonflies. Although he couldn't leave, that didn't stop him from sending his clones to a place where he could continue farming. By the way, how are my status? Did anything change? When his status page appeared, his eyes shone with excitement. Dissolved bronze LV 0.518%, LV 0.955%. Absorption bronze LV 0.519%, LV 0.957%. Superhuman physique gold LV 0.121%, LV 0.298%. Yin style iron LV 0.250%, bronze LV 0.732%. Yang style iron LV 0.322%, bronze LV 0.735%. Natural energy iron LV 0.442%, bronze LV 0.199%. Chakra bronze LV 0.811%, silver LV 0.140%. A total of 7 significant changes. All this just because the one who breastfed me was Kushina. There's no other secret, that was the only plausible answer. It's no wonder that when he created the 2 shadow clones he didn't feel overwhelmed as he had imagined he would. It turns out that he had changed quite a lot, even his own chakra had evolved 1 rank. Another thing, his level and points didn't change, which means that without using Predation, no matter how much he improves, that won't change. Even so, that didn't bother him. It would be great if it had changed, but, in the first place, he didn't expect anything to change. Therefore, everything that happened was, in the end, a happy accident. Ah yes, almost forgetting. Besides these changes, the name registered in his status changed to Luka Namikaze. -0. Kushina was breastfeeding little Luka, who had his adorable golden eyes tightly closed. She showed a loving smile while running her fingers through the strands of his golden hair with her free hand. You know, Mommy has already told you this before. She said softly, gently, you are my little treasure, ever since you entered our lives, everything changed for the better. Her eyes seemed to be seeing something beyond this time. -0. A few months earlier, on that day, Kushina was having another terrible day. It had been months since she and Minato were trying to have a child, but she came back once again disappointed from the hospital. As soon as she arrived, she began the usual routine, alone in that house that seemed very big and silent. She never blamed Minato. After all, he made their dreams come true, becoming the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. However, although she felt very proud of him, sometimes, just sometimes, she imagined what it would be like if Minato were not Hokage and had more time to spend with her. Maybe if they tried more, she might even already be pregnant. That was when she heard a cry, the cry of a baby. She was washing the dishes, dirty from what she used to prepare dinner. When she went out and saw a basket with a baby inside, she became a little indignant. She wanted so much to have a baby, and here was someone who achieved what she desired most, and yet, chose to abandon it. To her complete surprise, whoever did that managed to disappear without leaving a trace. She returned, standing in front of the basket, crouching down and saw the baby. She was a little surprised. Wow, aren't you the cutest little thing in this world? How cruel or desperate does someone need to be to have the courage to abandon you? When she picked him up in her arms, the crying ceased and, with his hands waving in the air, he began to laugh while trying to reach her face. When Kushina held him in her arms, and he stopped crying, something inside her seemed to have started as a simple drop in the ocean that soon became a tsunami. "Hello, little friend, aren't you a cutie?" She smiled, speaking in a very soft and gentle tone. In response to her words, the baby began to laugh. That laughter brought another wave of happiness that filled the void that was forming in her heart. She then laughed a little, a restrained but sincere laugh. At that moment, perhaps, she had already made her decision. Bringing the basket and the baby inside the house, she didn't deny that she came to think it could be a setup. It was a bit suspicious, but maybe not that much. Looking at the adorable child in her arms, she could imagine that this child's parents were simply in a difficult situation and couldn't raise him, so they placed all their hopes on him being raised by none other than the Hokage's wife. Could it be someone who saw me at the hospital? It was possible. If so, if they accidentally heard her saying that she wanted a baby, seeing if there was any problem, etc. It was possible that the mother, or who knows, the father of this child, saw in her the hope of not having to simply abandon this child in an orphanage. Inside the basket, Kushina saw a piece of wood with something carved on it. "Luka, is that your name, Luka?" When she noticed the baby react to that name, she smiled. "Then, I will also call you Luka." -0. Kushina, my love, I'm home. Minato's voice brought Kushina back to the present. A gentle smile adorned her lips. Seeing that the baby had fallen asleep while she was breastfeeding him, very carefully, she made him stop nursing, then after adjusting her blouse, without a bra, she placed him in the crib and went to receive Minato. "Welcome back." With her hands lowered at the sides of her thighs, she asked him, "What do you want first, take a bath, eat, or?" She displayed a mischievous smile. "Me." Although it wasn't the first time she did this, Minato was still caught off guard, narrowing his eyes dangerously, but upon seeing her mischievous and provocative smile, then her prominent belly, he swallowed dryly, then laughed out loud, saying, "Then, how about first a sweet kiss from my wife?" With great pleasure, she practically threw herself into his arms, hugging him. Minato hugged her back, holding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world, placing a tender kiss on her lips. Chapter 5. The advantage of being able to predict what will happen in the future. In the crib, Luka opened his eyes. He could hear his parents' voices from the other room in the living room. They were truly a happy and loving couple. Through the gap of the half-open door, 2 golden dragonflies entered. When they reached the range of his chubby baby hands, Luka used Predation on the 2 dragonflies that offered no resistance. +581 XP. +58 points. So this is how it works. It wasn't a bad result, but what happened was that his shadow clones were not capable of using Predation. Because of that, their increase was purely thanks to the abilities, Absorption and Dissolve. Without using Predation, the result won't be that good, but it still wasn't a bad result. Maybe if I could improve the shadow clone jutsu, something like splitting my body, making it possible to use Predation with my clones, that would be the best result. That said, just the fact that he could use his clones to gain points and express was already a good result. The breast milk I drank is still stored in my stomach. I want to test and see what the result is if I use Predation on it. Seconds later, Absorption Bronze evolved into Absorption Silver LV.1. Dissolve Bronze evolved into Dissolve Silver LV.1. Natural Energy Bronze rose to LV.2. Restoration Bronze rose to LV.5. +451 XP. +45 points. This is practically an entire day of effort from my 2 clones. It's true that his clones didn't leave the village and kept feeding on insects, even so. The best result was the qualitative improvement in Absorption and Dissolve. Also the level increase of Natural Energy and Restoration. Level 2 1.917 2.000. I'm very close to leveling up. La la la. The sound of Kushina humming a song made him involuntarily sway his head, closing his eyes. There was no denying it, he loved her voice. It was a maternal voice that made him want to listen to it while sleeping. Shaking his head, he thought, I don't want to lose them. But, I have very little time, there's only 1 month left at most until mother goes into labor. His existence changed some things, like for example, Jiraiya was still in the village. Another thing, it seemed that Kushina got pregnant earlier. How did he know that? Well, it's only been 2 weeks since Sasuke Uchiha was born. Kushina took him along when she went to visit her friend after giving birth to Sasuke. And, from what he remembered, the age difference between Naruto and Sasuke was at least 2 months. In other words, it was still the beginning of the month of August and Kushina was almost going into labor. Thus, the age difference would be at most 1 month. What does that change? He really didn't know. Maybe Obito would never appear, but you can't tempt fate. But, what can I do? He thought about the shop, or more specifically, about the resurrection cross that was sold in the shop. System, can this item be used by someone besides me? No, it cannot. The response came like a bucket of cold water. Minato. Suddenly, Kushina's voice echoed through the house. Luka had a bad feeling about that. He stood up, forming hand seals, and soon 3 clones were created, taking on the appearance of golden dragonflies. Minato jumped out of the bathtub, running with a towel around his waist. I think my water broke, she said, pale. From her legs, slowly leaking, transparent amniotic fluid flowed down. Without hesitating, Minato disappeared. While Minato had gone out, something entered the pocket of Kushina's clothes unnoticed. Seconds later, Minato returned, now properly dressed, and formed hand seals. Then, 3 shadow clones appeared, 2 of them went out through the door, while he himself picked Kushina up in a princess carry. Being carried like that, despite the pain, she smiled and said, "Hee, doesn't this remind you of some things?" "Yes, of the day I saved you and, of the day of our honeymoon." He smiled fully. When a white flash came toward them, Minato, with Kushina in his arms, left, leaving the clone behind. The flash took the form of Jiraiya, who entered the house. Kushina, her water broke, clone Minato interrupted, saying, before disappearing, "Jiraiya-sensei, please take care of Luka." Scratching his head, Jiraiya's eyes became serious as he looked at the dark sky. "I don't know why, but my heart won't stop beating fast," he murmured. "I just hope nothing bad happens." -0. In an isolated location protected by barriers and seals, with the presence of Minato and a few trusted ninjas, Kushina began to go into labor. It took hours, until finally the cry of a baby echoed. Wah, wah, she was born. Minato was in shock. Kushina was sweating heavily, panting a lot, but upon hearing the baby's cry, tears began to stream down her eyes. Bawako Sarutobi, Hiruzen Sarutobi's wife, was holding a beautiful baby with short crimson hair, similar to her mother's. Minato finally reacted, crying and laughing, wiping away the tears that began to stream down his face. "She's a healthy baby," Bawako said, walking around the stone bed Kushina was lying on. "Maki." Minato approached. Bawako reprimanded him, "Don't touch her. The mother sees her first." When Maki was placed beside Kushina, she looked at her adorable baby, saying while struggling to catch her breath, "Maki. I can finally see her." Meanwhile, something stealthily came out of Kushina's pocket, or rather 2 things, crawling toward Maki. Bawako moved Maki away, saying, "Okay. Now, you'll have much more time later." Behind Bawako, a nurse in white followed closely behind her. There, Bawako said in a gentle tone, rocking the baby. Minato approached Kushina, placing his hand over hers. "Kushina, is your body all right?" "Fine," she replied softly. Minato smiled. "Thank you." With indescribable emotions on her face, she said, "Minato." "Right." He punched his hand, saying, "I know you just went through childbirth, but I have to completely seal the 9 tails." He became serious, placing the palm of his hand on the seal on her stomach while the other hand supported his wrist. "Ah!" Before he could begin, there was a scream. "Ah!" Minato turned around, surprised. "Biwako-sama." "Taji." That was when he saw a hooded man all in black wearing a white mask with black markings, with only a single hole for the right eye. His claw-shaped hand pointed toward Maki's head while she cried in his right arm. "Wah, wah, 4th Hokage Minato, step away from the Jinchuriki." The man's voice was deep and cold as he spoke those words. Minato stood on guard, but, upon hearing that, both he and Kushina let out sounds of fear. "Otherwise," the mysterious man continued, "this child's life will end in an instant." "How did you get past the barrier?" Minato wondered with trembling eyes. "This guy. Who is he?" "Ah!" Suddenly, Kushina began to scream as dark markings from the seal started to cover her body, then a dark bubble threatened to come out from her stomach. Kushina. Minato turned toward her, thinking, the nine-tailed seal is continuing. The mysterious man repeated himself, making a kunai appear in his hand and placing it very close to Maki's face. Step away from the Jinchuriki already. Don't you care about what might happen to your child? Wait, calm down. Minato pointed his hand toward the man. Speak for yourself, Minato. He replied, I am as calm as possible. Soon, he threw Maki into the air. That was when something the size of a head appeared, seeming to be made of a golden liquid, or rather, two things. These two, gelatinous oval balls, covered Maki's body. Maki, Minato shouted, teleporting. When he reached her, the small cloth covering Maki disappeared. With a simple puff, the two golden gelatinous oval balls disappeared before his eyes. Clones, Minato murmured. Nani. Finally, the masked man's voice lost its calm. While he lost his composure, a golden dragonfly flew toward him, soon transforming into a golden slime. Clone Luka, as he shot toward Obito, mentally murmured, hydraulic propulsion. When he did that, he became almost like a cannonball firing toward Obito. Besides being fast, it was unpredictable. In less than a blink of an eye, Clone Luka was already striking Obito's face. A crack sound echoed, and that was when Obito became intangible. However, part of the mask on the right side of Obito's face was compromised, thus making it possible to clearly see that he possessed a Sharingan. Obito covered that side of his face with his right hand. Clone Luka was attacked by a kunai and disappeared. Meanwhile, Minato, with Maki in his arms, threw a kunai, appearing beside Kushina, and with her and Maki, they disappeared. Damn it! Obito, who was left alone, shouted loudly in fury. His right red eye oscillated non-stop. Minato. Minato appeared in the living room of his own house, and Jiraiya, who was taking care of Luka, shouted urgently upon seeing them. Jiraiya-sensei, someone attacked right after Kushina gave birth to Maki. Going to the table, Minato threw everything on it to the floor, laying Kushina on top of it. He continued explaining. It was a hooded man all in black with a white mask that completely covered his face. Some things happened and I saw that he possessed a Sharingan. Biwako-sama and Taji are still there. I need to go help. Please, take care of them for me. There was too much information to process, but Jiraiya still promised, leave it to me. Minato, be careful, Kushina said worriedly. Minato disappeared right after. Minato returned to the secret location where Kushina had given birth to Maki earlier. Biwako-sama, Taji, he approached the two of them, they're still breathing. Looking around, he noticed that the man had disappeared. Even though he had many things on his mind, he had other matters at hand. Disappearing with them, he reappeared at Konoha Hospital. Someone help. Minato-sama, Hokage-sama, he was quickly recognized, and soon several nurses and doctors appeared. I leave them with you, please, save them. Without explaining further, he disappeared right after. At home, he reappeared to see Jiraiya containing Kushina's seal. Jiraiya-sensei, I'll take over from here. He asked. About. Oyo, no need to be reserved with me. Jiraiya interrupted, saying, leave it to me, I'll protect them while you do that. Thank you. Minato thanked him deeply. Minato. Hiruzen's voice echoed from outside. Jiraiya went out, appearing outside. You arrived at the right moment, old man. Are they all right? Hiruzen asked worriedly. For now, yes, Jiraiya replied. Minato is inside resealing the Kyuubi. That's good. Hiruzen sighed in relief. Seeing the old man's expression change again, Jiraiya spoke as if he had read his thoughts. Biwako-sama was injured, but for now, she's all right. Minato already took her to the hospital. Hiruzen only nodded, but it was clear from his expression how relieved he was to hear that. Everyone, listen to my command. Hiruzen turned around, shouting, I want you to properly protect the fourth Hokage's house. Not even a mosquito must pass through us, understood? Yes. In a matter of seconds, the entire perimeter around Minato's house was surrounded by the leaf ninjas. Meanwhile, Minato had already begun sealing the Kyuubi back again. Despite the previous interruption, even destroying all the preparations they had made before to completely seal the Kyuubi back again, whether because of how strong Kushina was, or how skilled Minato was, the sealing process was progressing without any problems, it was just taking much longer. Sweating, Minato found himself thinking, what was that? At first, he thought that thing also wanted to harm his baby, but later he realized he was very wrong. Even at a glance, he noticed that the cloth covering Maki had an explosive tag placed on it by that masked man, but that thing made it disappear together with the cloth somehow. There was also the second one that tried to attack the masked man's face, managing to break part of the mask, but then it passed through the man's face. Minato narrowed his eyes. Was that some kind of jutsu that makes him intangible? Is it related to that eye? The pattern was different from ordinary Sharingans. Maybe that was the infamous Mangekyo Sharingan that I've heard so much about. Ah, at the sound of Kushina's scream, Minato stopped thinking about it for now, focusing all his attention on sealing the Kyuubi back again. On the couch, Luka was facing a newborn baby who until now had been crying a lot, but upon seeing him, strangely stopped, as if evaluating him. Suddenly, she began to laugh. Luka raised an eyebrow, and that made the baby laugh even more. Red hair and feminine features. Even after receiving the feedback from the clones, it was still a surprise to him. After all, Naruto had blonde hair. So, it was as I imagined. Luka thought. Because of me, Naruto was never born. -0. Obito finally reached the Leaf Village. He replaced the broken mask. When he got close to Minato and Kushina's house, his expression behind the mask became very ugly. Damn it. I was so close. I waited for this, planned for this for so long. What the hell was that? What the hell was that thing? He hadn't felt this much rage since he saw Kakashi kill Rin. He felt the urge to scratch his own face until it peeled. His body trembled non-stop, unable to contain his anger. I found you. Obito turned around. On top of a rooftop, crouched with his hands forward, he saw Jiraiya. You were in the village? Obito asked without waiting for a response. It was more as if he was surprised to see him there. That question and tone of voice of yours. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes, made me very intrigued. Is someone passing information to you? Who is the traitor? Obito closed his eye. When he opened it, he was calmer. It seems I lost my great chance. I admit that with you here, one of the 3 legendary Sannin, any chance I had before is gone. But, don't be so happy yet, this still isn't over. The day I destroy Konoha is not very far away. Finishing speaking, he began to flicker, soon disappearing. How? Jiraiya was surprised. Upon noticing that he wouldn't be able to track him through conventional means, he closed his eyes, concentrating, gathering natural energy, but even after entering Sage mode, he was not capable of tracking that man. It wasn't a clone, so, how did he do that? Jiraiya murmured, perplexed. -0. Even after hearing that man say that he had given up this time, Jiraiya did not warn anyone about it, continuing outside, still in Sage mode, protecting his student's family. Even after Minato managed to completely seal the Kyuubi back again, the vigilance continued until dawn. Hiruzen-sama, a ninja appeared, reporting, Biwako-sama's surgery ended, she survived. Great. Seeing that he got too excited, Hiruzen pretended to cough, asking, and how is Taji? Recovering. The ninja said, she is also out of danger. That's good. Hiruzen slapped his own thigh hard, smiling. In a high place, not very far from there, a man with his forehead and right eye bandaged, spat disdainfully with a certain level of arrogance while looking down from above. Useless. Even with such a good chance, still, he failed. The man's figure flickered, and soon he disappeared from where he was standing. Chapter 6. 9 Lottery Spins. August 7th. Luka opened his eyes, noticing that he was lying beside his little sister, Maki. Next to Maki was his mother, Kushina. She was sleeping deeply. And, sitting in a chair near the bed, holding Kushina's hand, was Minato. Shish. Noticing that he opened his eyes, Minato said in a gentle tone, don't wake your mommy, she worked very hard and is very tired. Mama, he babbled, holding his little feet. That's right, Minato smiled. Mama needs to rest. It was possible to see the deep dark circles under Minato's eyes. He spent the entire night without closing his eyes, he barely blinked the whole night. Luka closed his eyes, pretending to go back to sleep. In his mind, however, he could barely contain his emotions. It worked, he thought. I didn't expect to be capable of changing anything, but I really did it. Despite his little strength, he knew the original plot, knew that the cloth used to cover Naruto, but in this case, Maki could end up full of explosive tags. He had to use his dissolve ability to the fullest for it to work, since he couldn't use Predation. For this to work, he used 2 clones at the same time. Fortunately, it worked. He became emotional when he received the clone's feedback. With the 3rd clone, he didn't really expect to manage to expose Obito when he attacked him. In fact, he expected that, with that, he would at least manage to expose a little of his ability to become intangible. But the result was a little better, exposing his Sharingan. There was no secret mission or anything like that as a reward for what he did, but, if he had to say, the greatest reward was having managed to change the game and make his parents return home safe and sound with his little sister. -0. 1 week later, the dragonfly mimicry was sealed away forever. How could it not be? After exposing himself when he used the clones to save his mother, father and little sister, using that again was out of the question. But it wasn't easy to get a new form to allow his clones to leave the house. Although some mosquitoes tried to bite him, only to meet a sad end. It didn't result in him managing to transform into them. And a normal transformation wouldn't fool someone like Kushina and Minato. Well, it's not like he hadn't improved in the last few days. Thanks to his mother's nutrient-rich breast milk, he continued improving. After finishing being breastfed, Kushina made him burp. "Minato, hold Luka and give me Maki," Kushina asked. "Yes, dear," he replied, handing her Maki who was in his arms, then picking up Luka. Stretching out his chubby hands, Luka touched Minato's face, reaching his hair and pulling it with a little strength, making him pretend to feel pain, but he had a silly fatherly smile on his face. Later, after being placed in the crib to sleep, Luka used Predation, as always on the stored breast milk. Restoration Bronze evolved into Restoration Silver LV.1. Plus 454 XP. Plus 45 points. You leveled up. Bonus. Plus 700 points. Finally level 4, he thought. Status. Open corner bracket Luka Namikaze. Species. Slime. Title. None. Level. 4 116 4000ths. Points. 2230. Seeing the amount of points he had managed to accumulate, he thought, it seems like a lot, but with this amount, I won't be able to buy anything useful for myself right now. Should I try my luck one more time in the lottery? With that amount of points, he could try 22x lottery spin. Shop. Looking at the list of items, before thinking about the lottery, he looked at the items that weren't useful to him to exclude them, and who knows, maybe something useful could appear in their place. The magic towel that cleans any stain wasn't very useful right now, but it was undeniable that it could be in the future. Alright, I'll buy one, then, exclude it. 300 points. The item, magic towel that cleans any stain, was deposited into your stomach storage space. After doing that, he could later try to analyze the towel with Predation and manufacture more of them, so, he excluded that item from the shop. The instant he excluded it, a new item appeared in the shop. Dragon Lacrima Random Unknown Rank, a lacrima from a dragon that grants artificial dragon slayer magic to individuals when implanted. 200,000 points. It was double the value of the devil's pieces. But, how to say this? Even though he felt it was expensive, he simply couldn't click the option to exclude this item. Even if it's from a random dragon, it's still from a dragon. Is it worth it? Maybe. For now, he wasn't going to touch that. Hair growth, a potion that makes hair grow rapidly. 200 points. That was an item that left him wondering whether he should exclude it or not. In the end, he chose to leave it. Okay, I made a decision. Shop. Current points. 1930. Quantity. 1 lottery spin, 9 lottery spins. Buy now. Without hesitation, he clicked on Buy Now. 900 points. 1. Magic Stamp Tool. This magic item resembles a normal stamp, but allows the user to produce any symbol on the body, such as a village symbol. Unlike a normal tattoo, it is faster and painless, with many colors available. Any part of the body can be marked with the symbol of their village, including the tongue. 2. 100x Contraceptive. No side effects, oral use, effective for 1 week after use. 3. Alarm Clock. A normal clock that wakes the user up with the sexy voice of Tsunade Senju. 4. 10x Fatigue Combat Potion, a potion with no side effects that combats fatigue. 5. Heavy Aura Strike Silver LV.1 allows the user to envelop their weapon, sword, kunai etc. in natural energy, increasing attributes such as the weapon's sharpness. The slashing attacks delivered by the weapon will also be heavier than normal. 6. Chakra Blade Tantu Form. The chakra blade is a sharp ninja tool forged from a special metal that can absorb the properties of chakra, including the elemental affinity of the one who uses it. 7. Magic Stone. When placed in water, it begins to heat and pump the water, functioning like a jacuzzi. 8. Forehead Protector. A headband from the Hidden Cloud Village. 9. Plus 50 points. The items were deposited into your stomach storage space, and the technique can be learned at any time the host desires. The items were deposited into your stomach storage space, and the technique can be learned at any time the host desires. Not bad at all. There are other questionable items, but not necessarily bad ones. The most useless item there was the Cloud Forehead Protector. System, I want to learn Heavy Aura Strike now. Alright, you learned Heavy Aura Strike, Silver LV 0.100%. Very good, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. He smiled, thinking, I can't wait to be old enough to go to school. Chapter 7. Time Skip. 1 year and 8 months later. Plus 501 XP. You leveled up, plus 50 points. Bonus. Lottery spin, prize guaranteed a gold, Grandmaster rank item or skill. Note. New items are now available in the shop. Luka pretended to sleep as always while using Predation. Finally something different from the other times I leveled up. Status. Open corner bracket, Luka Namikaze. Species. Slime. Title. None. Level. 11 290 thousandths. Points. 23,480. Techniques. Predation Platinum LV 0.30.01%. Dissolve Silver LV 0.2999%. Absorption Silver LV 0.2999%. Restoration Silver LV 0.2999%. Mana Perception Bronze LV 0.212%. Superhuman Vision Silver LV 0.117%. Superhuman Physique Gold LV 0.464%. Hydraulic Propulsion Iron LV 0.999%. 360-degree vision Iron LV 0.999%, Dragonfly Wings Iron LV 0.774%, Heavy Aura Strike Silver LV 0.100%. Chakra Nature Earth Style Iron LV 0.999%, Water Style Iron LV 0.999%, Yin Style Silver LV 0.222%, Yang Style Silver LV 0.225%. Power Source Natural Energy Silver LV 0.191%, Chakra Silver LV 0.1070%. Without his mother or father, Luka did not go out a single time since then. Even so, his improvement was quite high. I just need to wait a few more years, and I'll have more freedom. Luka opened the shop page and saw the 2 new items. Open corner bracket, shop. Current points, 23,480. Skills and items. Spatial Motion Gold LV 0.1 allows the user to travel instantly to any location they have already visited or whose coordinates they know. The only downside is that it consumes a large amount of chakra natural energy. 10,000 points. Thought Acceleration Gold LV 0.1 increases thought processing speed 1,000 times. 5,000 points. Devil's Pieces. They are a set of 16 chess pieces given to high-class devils to increase their ranks by reincarnating other beings into devils. Note. If the host buys this set and uses the king piece on themselves, they will gain devil mimicry, as well as be recognized as the owner of the other 15 pieces, being able to reincarnate other living beings into devils. 100,000 points. Random Dragon Lacrima Unknown rank, a lacrima from a dragon that grants artificial dragon slayer magic to individuals when implanted. 200,000 points. New Pandora, a briefcase capable of transforming into 666 different and devastating forms, some of which are powered by the weapon's disaster meter that was built into it as one of its functions. 150,000 points. Consumables. Lose Memory, a potion that temporarily causes the user to lose their memory. 200 points. Super Antidote, an antidote capable of instantly detoxifying any poison. 1,000 points. Hair Growth, a potion that makes hair grow rapidly. 200 points. Resurrection Cross. They can be used by the host at LV 0.50 and below. Complete resurrection takes 10 seconds, single use. 10,000 points. New Seed of the Gods. When eaten, the user's energy and physical health are restored to the maximum. These effects are typically almost instantaneous. 1,000 points. Lottery Spin. 100 points. Without a doubt, the 2 new items, Whether it was the consumable seed of the gods or the item Pandora, both were simply very good. Although Pandora would be just another item on the list that he had no way of buying. Should I still continue saving points? With the amount of points he currently had, there were some useful items he could buy in the shop. Closing his eyes tightly, he opened them again, having made his decision. 15,000 points. Thought acceleration, gold LV 0.100% acquired. Spatial motion, gold LV 0.100% acquired. In his mind, Luka felt as if his genetics were going through a change. The seeds of the gods are very useful, he thought. I'll use my remaining points to buy 8 of them. 8,000 points. Done. With 8 seeds of the gods stored in his stomach, Luka felt safer. System, I want to use the lottery spin prize. Congratulations, you won. Acknowledge a template, fairy tale. Quote. Luka's lips formed a straight horizontal line. Without a doubt, it was an item worthy of being a prize item, but. A single lonely tear ran down Luka's left eye. It was like having something with even greater potential than a nuclear bomb, but if he used it, he could be affected, or even worse, killed in the process. Taking a deep breath and sighing, swallowing all his frustration, Luka did what any other mature man would do, turned to the side on the bed, and went to sleep to forget about his problems. -0. 4 years later, April 6th, Monday. Finally, Luka thought. Today was the long-awaited day for Luka. It had been long years until he was finally going to the Ninja Academy. Luka's hair had grown over the last few years, or rather, he controlled its growth according to his age, reaching down to his back. His golden hair had strands as fine as silk, slightly messy on purpose. His eyes were a captivating golden color. At first, he wanted to dress in a very flashy way, but his mother stopped him. Because of that, he ended up wearing simple black shorts, a black short-sleeved shirt, and over it, a golden jacket with the zipper closed. By the way, his facial features were somewhat similar to Minato's. Because of that, many believed they were biological father and son. Onichan. Luka turned toward the stairs. Coming down, he saw his adorable little sister. She took more after their mother, with a delicate yet feminine face, fair skin, blue eyes, and bright red hair. Her hair was long, straight, and very full, tied at the top of her head, making the length fall backward in an elegant and youthful way. At the front, there were loose and longer strands, especially a fringe on the right side that framed her face. Influenced by their mother's old photos, she chose the same type of outfit to inaugurate her first day at the Ninja Academy. The outfit consisted of a red short-sleeved kimono blouse with an embroidered white border, kept closed with a wine red obi, black shorts, black socks that reached her thighs, and black ninja boots. Slung over her shoulder, she wore a brown bag. How do I look? How do I look? With both hands behind her back, slightly leaning forward, all her serious facade was gone as she circled around him, practically begging for compliments. With a light laugh, Luka did not hold back on the praise. As expected of my little sister, you look very beautiful. Now I'm starting to worry. What if someone sees you this adorable and wants to kidnap you? Really, what do I do? She brought her hands to her cheeks, but instead of feeling fear, she asked shyly, looking at him from the corner of her eyes while kicking the air. Then, if someone tries to kidnap me, Onichan will teach them a lesson, right? You can bet on it. I'm the strongest. He placed both hands on his waist and started laughing loudly, ha 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 ha. Imitating him, placing her hands on her waist, with her chin pointed toward the sky, Maki started laughing loudly as well, wahahaha. Kushina, who was coming down the stairs with a camera in hand, brought a hand to her forehead, wondering where exactly she had gone wrong. Soon, she simply let out a laugh, thinking, they're cute, so it's fine, Datbana. As the saying goes, cuteness is justice. Minato, who had just arrived, upon seeing this scene, felt as if all his worries had been washed away, and a simple yet paternal smile adorned his lips. Chapter 8. Going to the Ninja Academy. Status. Open corner bracket, Luka Namikaze. Species. Slime. Title. None. Level. 16 142 130 thousandths. Points. 67,494. Techniques. Predation Platinum, LV. 5 to 5% dissolver gold LV 0.277% absorption gold LV 0.279% restoration gold LV 0.197% mana perception bronze LV 0.565% superhuman vision silver LV 0.1517% superhuman physique gold LV 0.1046% hydraulic propulsion iron LV 0.999% 360-degree vision iron LV 0.999%, dragonfly wings iron LV 0.774%, heavy aura strike, silver LV 0.100%, thought acceleration, gold LV 0.364%, spatial motion, gold LV 0.100%. Chakra nature. Earth style iron LV 0.999%, water style iron LV 0.999%, yin style silver LV 0.2866%, yang style silver LV 0.2869%. Power source. Natural energy silver LV 0.2091%, chakra silver LV 0.294%. Resistances. Pain resistance iron LV 0.55%, pierce resistance iron LV 0.32%, spiritual attack resistance iron LV 0.999%. Jutsus. Clone iron LV 0.998%, transformation iron LV 0.999%, substitution iron LV 0.999%, leaf hurricane silver LV 0.1929%, demonic illusion. Hell viewing iron LV 0.88%, body flicker iron LV 0.799%, multiple shadow clones silver LV 0.210%. There's no doubt that I've become stronger compared to 6 years ago. Luka thought. I have no idea how strong I am, but I should be several times stronger than a genin. Onichan, are you listening to me? Making a mental command to close his status page, Luka looked to his right. At that moment, he was holding hands with his little sister, who gave a slight tug when he didn't respond to something. Sorry, what was your question again? Luka gave her an apologetic smile. On the left side, he was holding their mother's hand, Kushina. And on Maki's right side, Minato was holding her hand. No matter from what angle someone looked, they were a happy family of 4. Moo, again, she puffed out her cheeks dramatically, imitating their mother, which made her look even cuter. I asked if you're also a little nervous. I mean, I'm not. I'm just worried about you, I mean. Pretending a little, he showed a bit of concern. A little, yeah, but with my little sister by my side, I feel less nervous. When she heard that, Maki's eyes sparkled. She puffed out her chest. Then, she stopped holding her father's hand, and now with her hand free, she punched her chest presumptuously, snorting cutely through her nose, HMPH. You can count on me. Minato on the other hand, pouted like a hurt father who had been abandoned by his daughter. Only when she held his hand again did he smile once more. Kushina, who saw all of this, held herself back from laughing out loud, her shoulders trembling as she let out restrained giggles. So cute, she thought lovingly. Almost arriving at the Ninja Academy, something happened. Before Luka's retina, a holographic screen appeared. Sequential mission unlocked. The path of a ninja slime. Objective. Enter the Ninja Academy classroom. Reward. 2x lottery spins, plus 500 points, plus 200 XP. A simple and easy mission, but what caught his attention was the part that said, sequential mission. Minato-sama, it's good to see you here. Luka pulled his attention away from the holographic screen. In front of him were 2 adult men from the Hyuga clan, a gentle-looking woman also from the Hyuga clan, a little girl who seemed to be Maki's age hiding behind the Hyuga who spoke, and a younger one in the Hyuga woman's arms. The other Hyuga man also had a little boy behind him. That little boy was almost the same height as Luka. That particular Hyuga bowed respectfully toward Minato, Minato-sama. That shine in his eyes could not be hidden. Not only him, even the other one who was the current head of the Hyuga clan did not hide his respect for Minato. Hiyashi, Hazashi, Minato smiled back. Is this your little princess who will study in the same class as my children? Yes. Hiyashi gave a light push on Hinata's back. Hinata, introduce yourself. Timidly, Hinata stepped out from behind her father, clasping her hands in front of herself, and spoke in a soft and shy tone. Hello, my name is Hinata Hyuga. I hope we can be good friends. Her shyness won in the end, and she went back to hiding behind her father, peeking out with her little head. Hello, I'm Maki Namikaze. Maki extended her hand, saying full of energy, nice to meet you. Hinata nodded her head in confirmation. The younger Hyuga girl who was in her mother's arms looked like a little fox when she smiled. Hanabi. Luka Namikaze. He looked at her. Hinataken, right. I hope we get along well. He closed his eyes with a smile as he finished speaking. Uzu. Hinata nodded, blushing shyly. Seeing this, Maki tightened the grip of the hand she was holding his with. Maki. He looked at her. Did I do something to annoy you? Nothing at all. She turned her face away. Kushina brought a hand to her mouth and let out a small giggle. Minato on the other hand, looked awkward. He felt like his cozy jacket was being stolen by his own son, but he had no proof. While they chatted amicably, another couple bringing their son arrived near them. Kushina, the black-eyed woman wearing the standard Uchiha clan outfit, called out to her. Mikoto-san. She smiled upon seeing her good friend. Sasuke. Luka noticed the little boy beside the woman. Taking a step forward, Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Luka. Luka also narrowed his eyes. When a strange atmosphere formed because of the two of them, Luka and Sasuke extended their hands forward, and soon a clap echoed. Clap. Finally we can go to the Ninja Academy. Sasuke said, seeming excited about it. Yes. Luka agreed, even more excited than him. Boys. Maki shrugged her shoulders, grumbling, R. Hinata closed her eyes with a hand over her mouth while laughing a little. But upon feeling Maki's gaze, she hiccuped and hid again. Meanwhile, Kushina and Makoto began chatting warmly. So, our children will be classmates. Makoto said with a gentle smile. Right. Kushina seemed very happy about that. Fourth Hokage-sama. Fugaku Uchiha was very respectful when addressing him. There's no need to be so formal. Minato smiled. Today, I'm just a father taking his children to school. A rare smile adorned Fugaku's lips. Right. Soon, Fugaku, Hiyashi, Hazashi, and Minato began talking among themselves. They were a bit stiffer than the women, but at least they didn't seem as formal as at the beginning. Hinata and Hanabi's mother also exchanged a few words with Kushina and Makoto. Luka, Sasuke said, finally we can compete. His eyes shone full of fighting spirit. Smiling, Luka replied, yes, but I won't lose. After all. Yes, you're the strongest. And, blah, blah, blah. Sasuke cut him off midway, saying, I've already heard you say that 1,000 times. Onichan really is the strongest. This time, even Maki jumped between them, standing in front of Sasuke, defending her older brother's honor. Yes, whatever. Sasuke did not insist. He was determined to prove himself, but not verbally, because he knew these siblings didn't know when to give up, and just thinking about getting into a debate with them already made him feel tired. You don't believe it? Maki refused to give up, narrowing her eyes with her hands on her waist, leaning forward. Sasuke's lips twitched. He foresaw a headache coming. But he was saved by the bell. All right, children. Minato suddenly said, it's already time for you to go in. You will all be classmates and will have plenty of time to interact with each other. Since it was Minato speaking, even Maki did not insist anymore. Sasuke let out a sigh of relief. Kushina crouched down in front of Maki and Luka, hugging them. Be careful, my babies, and obey your senseis properly. And eat properly during lunch. Also don't be naughty and try to make lots of friends, too. Mom, I'm not a child anymore. Maki interrupted her. We know how to behave. Right, Onichan. Yes, Mom, Maki is right. I promise to try not to make all my female classmates fall in love with me. He looked at the sky in a dramatic way, as if he were talking about something almost impossible to accomplish. I'm still too young to think about something like love. I just hope they can understand that. He let out a lonely sigh. Kushina laughed nervously seeing him act like that. Maki on the other hand, nodded her head strongly, as if agreeing with every word Luka said. She clenched her little fists tightly as if she had made a great decision. I must protect my brother from those hussies Mom always talks about that keep surrounding Dad. She swore to herself valiantly. Unaware of her daughter's thoughts, Kushina cast a reproachful look toward her eldest son, but seeing that he only gave her an innocent, slightly confused look, she sighed. Everything will be all right, right? Kushina began to worry for reasons different from most mothers dropping their children off on the first day of school. Chapter 9. First day of class. Mission: The Path of a Slime Ninja, successful. Rewards: 2x lottery spin plus 500 points plus 200 XP. Without any mystery, as soon as he passed through the classroom door, the notification of the completed mission arrived in the form of a holographic page. Right below this page, a new page appeared. Mission: The Path of a Slime Ninja 2. Objective: until it's time to go home, make 3 classmates remember your name. Rewards: 2x lottery spin plus 600 points plus 400 XP. This is going to be easy, he thought confidently. Luka let his eyes wander around the classroom, until they stopped on an individual. Shino Aburame. Shino, who had his head lowered, felt a terrible chill run down his spine. Raising his head and looking around in confusion, he felt the insects in his body become very agitated, as if they had seen something terrible. At that moment Luka had already looked away from Shino and continued talking with Maki. Internally, Luka thought, I wonder what the result would be if I preyed on the specially cultivated insects of the Aburame clan. Let's sit here, Luka said, in front of the desk in the second row on the left, next to Hinata. Uzu. Maki agreed. Hinata, seeing them sit beside her, gave a slight nod. She didn't seem as shy as before, but she looked a little nervous. Maki stayed in the middle, Hinata on the far left and Luka on the right. Sasuke, touching Luka's shoulder in a friendly manner, I'm going to sit in the back. All right, Luka replied. At the desk beside him, Luka felt a hungry gaze directed at him. Turning around, he saw a little girl with short blonde hair with a green clip on the left side, and green eyes. When she saw him looking at her, she smiled and said, Hello, my name is Ino Yamanaka. Can we be friends? No problem, he replied. I'm Luka, Luka Namikaze. The Hokage's son. Her eyes sparkled like a fangirl's. Her words attracted the attention of the rest of the class. In an instant, several murmurs spread around because of it. Closing her left eye, clasping her hands together while sticking out her tongue, trying to act cute, she said, Sorry, it wasn't intentional. It doesn't matter, Luka shrugged. Sooner or later they were going to find out. Hey, are you really the 4th Hokage's son? One student came up to his desk enthusiastically. He must be. Look how yellow his hair is, he must take after the Hokage. Another said. You're very close to her. One of them pointed at Maki, asking, Are you friends? He is my Onichan. Maki puffed out her chest proudly as she exclaimed. That's true, she really resembles the 4th Hokage's wife, Kushina-sama. Amazing, I'm in the same class as the Hokage's children. While the students began to get excited about this news, the sensei entered the classroom. Be quiet, the sensei shouted. Right now, everyone to your seats. With books in hand, the sensei walked to the wooden desk, then placed his hands on the desk with a loud bang, leaning forward. I understand that everything is new for you, and that you're excited and all, however, as future ninjas, you need to learn some basic rules, one of them being to always respect your senseis. Seeing that everyone had fallen silent, he nodded in satisfaction, walking to the green board, picking up a piece of white chalk and beginning to write very quickly with a bit of force for impact. Finishing with a loud sound of the chalk scratching against the board, he put the chalk back with a bang, and turned to the class, with his hands behind his back. On the board was written, Onizuka Springfield. My name is Onizuka Springfield. Starting today, I will be in charge of this class. You may call me Onizuka-sensei. Or just sensei if you prefer. He said slowly with controlled calm. Any questions? Onizuka-sensei had short dark purple hair, brown eyes, and wore a small pair of glasses that rested on his nose. On his forehead, he wore a Konoha ninja headband. The vest he wore belonged to ninjas above the genin rank. He was around 1.7 meters tall. He wasn't tall, but he also wasn't exactly short. Sensei. Ino raised her hand. You may ask. Clearing her throat, Ino asked, before becoming a sensei, were you a chunin? Onizuka said with an amused smile upon hearing this question. Yes, I was a chunin, but that was a few years ago, before I was promoted to the rank of jonin. Does that answer your question? Wow, sensei is a jonin, although not that uncommon, it was still a surprise especially for students who came from ordinary families. HMPH. Why are you all so surprised just because sensei is a jonin? In the future, I will be a powerful ninja admired by everyone like the 4th Hokage. With one hand resting on his face, a little boy grumbled, Right, Akamaru. Rough. The little white puppy on his head barked. After another session of conversations mixed with answers and questions, Onizuka-sensei said, Okay, let's stop here and start attendance. Just answer when your names are called. He picked up the attendance book. -0. The lunch break was at 11 in the morning and lasted until 12:30. An hour and a half break. It wasn't exactly forbidden to bring food from home, but preferably, it was better to eat what everyone else was going to eat. The food was made by the school's cooks, but the ones who served it were the students themselves in turns. The one who implemented this rule was Minato. As an orphan, he understood better than anyone what it was like to see other students eating good things. And, even now there were still many orphan students. Because of that, it was important that everyone ate the same thing. And, the food prepared by the school was very good. Minato spared no expense in this aspect. Many were against it, especially the elders, but he stood firm. They are the future of our village. The weight of these words, especially coming from an orphan who became Hokage, even unwillingly, made them fall silent. The lunch served on the first day was rice, meatballs with sauce and salad. It tastes a bit like Papa's food, Maki commented. Papa, one of the children who was walking near them heard that, surprised by the way she said it. Otusan, she corrected herself loudly, embarrassed. Isn't she adorable? Luka laughed quietly. Most of the recipes must be from father and mother. He said. That's why the taste is so familiar. The Hokage's recipes. Hearing that, the students felt that the taste of the food became even better. Some students who came from ordinary families, or were orphans, strangely started crying with emotion. Sometimes I forget the weight that father's name carries. Luka thought. It was no wonder their gazes seemed like they wanted to pierce through him. Chapter 10. New Forms of Mimicry. In the bathroom, still during the lunch break, Luka created a shadow clone. He transformed into a dragonfly and slipped out through the crack in the window. Meanwhile, the clone returned to the classroom. Outside, Luka in dragonfly form thought, very well, I can finally act according to my plans. Not that the last few years had been bad. After all, he lived under protection and managed to improve constantly, although ever since he stopped being breastfed, he began to stagnate. Finally having some degree of freedom, he couldn't waste it. Being as cautious as possible, he flew to a tall tree and stayed there for a few minutes. I understand, so this is how it works. In the tree, he concealed himself perfectly, acting like a simple dragonfly. Around the school, he noticed 7 hidden ninjas. Well, there are many students who belong to the village's main clans. He thought. He himself and Maki were the children of the 4th Hokage. No wonder there were so many ninjas protecting them. Although the war had ended, in this world, absolute peace did not exist. There was always someone with evil intentions lurking around. I heard father talking to mother about not trusting Danzo. He thought. At least in that regard he is much better than the 3rd. Jiraiya informed Minato that there was a traitor in the village and not just anyone. It should be someone who could have access to the information about the place where Kushina was taken outside the village to give birth to Maki. And since then, Minato had become suspicious of Danzo. The simple fact that he did not appear to give support that day was very suspicious. And, ever since he started investigating Danzo, it seemed that he discovered many things, one of them being his strong desire to become Hokage. Because of that, father was very protective of me and Maki. Luka thought. The fear of losing those you love, Luka could understand and did not blame his father for doing what he did. And, almost 6 years ago, Minato almost lost his wife and daughter. Right, I can go now. Avoiding being noticed, he acted as much as possible like a dragonfly while moving away from the tree. Seeing some birds, Luka couldn't help but think about obtaining a new mimicry. Preferably, several different types of birds and insects. That way, it would be easier for him to leave without being noticed. After managing to gain a good distance from the school, Luka started flying at 50 km/h. With a few hours of free time before having to return, he intended to make the most of it. Luka suddenly stopped. Not too far away, he saw an anthill. This will serve as my first hunt, he thought. Whether because of the 360-degree vision or mana perception, Luka did not notice any people nearby. After all, intentionally, he chose the most remote area, being very close to the forest of death. The anthill he was seeing should have at least 1,000 ants. Without hesitating, he dived into the anthill while still in dragonfly form. The instant he entered the ant nest, the ants became agitated, going after him without fearing death, wanting to defend the colony. Inside the anthill, Luka cancelled the transformation, returning to slime form. The expansion caused the anthill to split open. The ants attacked him, only to be swallowed by his gelatinous body. Others went to protect the queen. Plus 0.009 EXP. Plus 0.001 point. The first notification came quickly, followed by the second, then third, fourth, fifth. Soon, the notifications became a constant event, resembling a click game addict clicking the mouse button non-stop, with delayed sounds that could not keep up with the amount of clicks. 1. 3464x plus 0.009 EXP. 2. 3464x plus 0.001 point. 3. It becomes possible for you to transform into a carpenter ant. 4. You acquire the basic instincts of a carpenter ant. 5. Superpowered strength iron LV 0.261% acquired. When he finished, there wasn't a single ant left to tell the story. Lucky, he thought when he saw that he had gained the mimicry, as well as a new technique. Assuming the form of a carpenter ant, he noticed that he was 2 centimeters tall, as well as having a completely black body. Furthermore, he could vividly feel the instincts of a carpenter ant, just as he felt that he could make even better use of superpowered strength. Wanting to get used to it, he continued in ant form and went exploring. It was strange that an ant could move so fast, even reaching almost 50 km/h. Did I turn into the Flash ant? He thought, laughing a little. But, it's true, in the universe of insects, at least the common ones, he could be seen as something very fast. Plus 0.010 EXP. Plus 0.001 point. When he spotted a beetle, Luka transformed into a slime, swallowing the beetle into his body, then quickly returned to ant form, running again. It was a quick but bizarre scene of a superfast ant changing into a golden gelatinous oval form, and not even a second later, returning to ant form and continuing to run. But, even after devouring 100 insects, none granted him mimicry. It's really difficult to obtain this, he thought. Climbing a tree, Luka looked at a little blue bird that did not seem threatened by his presence. It seems I'll have to resort to something bigger. Killing insects was tolerable, even satisfying. However, a little bird caused even a slight hesitation, but even so, he did not hesitate for long. Once decided, Luka moved. Finally noticing that something was wrong, the little blue bird flapped its wings and flew away. Hydraulic propulsion. Upon activating the skill, Luka shot forward like a powerful blast from a water gun. In the air, he changed shape into a slime, engulfing the little blue bird that tried to dodge. The slime form changed immediately afterward into that of a golden dragonfly. Open corner bracket, successful predation. 1. Cold resistance iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. Mountain bluebird wings iron LV 0.100% acquired. 3. It becomes possible for you to transform into a mountain bluebird. 4. You acquire the basic instincts of a mountain bluebird. 5. Plus 32 XP. 6. Plus 3.02 points. Finally a new mimicry. In the air, he changed form, transforming into a little blue bird with 19 centimeters in length and a wingspan of 30 centimeters. I understand, he thought. It seems this little bird is not faster than a dragonfly, perhaps the maximum it could reach revolves around 25 km/h. Well, that's acceptable. In areas where eyes could see him, he could not break the pattern and fly above this speed so as not to create suspicion. Will I one day have the mimicry of all living beings on Earth? For some strange reason, he became a little excited just imagining it. Despite the hesitation he would feel in starting to devour all types of animals, such as dogs and cats, honestly, it was difficult not to imagine having an arsenal of transformations at his disposal. For now, let's start with the small ones, he thought. But, I want to try devouring something like a shark, or even a whale. Another thing he thought, if I obtain the mimicry of a shark, will I be able to use the wings skill? It would be quite a peculiar scene to see a shark with dragonfly wings, for example, only proportionally sized, flying in the sky. At the very least, it could cause panic in many villages if they saw that. And let's not even talk about something bigger like a white whale. Shaking his little bird head, he spotted the next target, squirrel. Diving toward the tree where the squirrel was, Luka transformed into slime. Hydraulic propulsion, plus 39 XP. 3.09 points. Everything happened in a matter of milliseconds. The squirrel didn't even see what hit it. Returning to blue bird form, Luka flapped his wings, gaining altitude. Unfortunately, not this time. He lamented a little, just a little. Oh ho, strange things tended to happen from time to time. One of them seemed like it was about to happen now, with an eagle diving toward him, apparently seeing him as prey. With the basic instincts of the blue bird, Luka acted accordingly, flying, until a claw captured him. It was fast, at least 200 km/h. It was normal that a little bird flying around 25 km/h could not dodge. But then, Luka transformed into slime, wrapping around the leg, climbing up until he enveloped the eagle's body and neck. Screech! A sharp cry echoed. The eagle tried to peck him with its beak, but only ended up injuring its own body. Luka completely enveloped the eagle shortly afterward. Soon, a golden ball began falling from the sky. Open corner bracket, successful predation. 1. Eagle vision, silver LV.100% acquired. 2. Eagle wings, silver LV.100% acquired. 3. It becomes possible for you to transform into an eagle. 4. You acquire the basic instincts of an eagle. 5. Plus 110 XP. 6. Plus 11 points. Soon, from a gelatinous form, like a bursting balloon, an eagle with 1 meter in length and 2 meters of wingspan appeared. The eagle's color was predominantly black. From the neck to the head it was white and the beak and claws were golden. Part of the rear feathers were also white. Spinning with his wings closed, Luka opened his wings afterward, gliding, until he flapped his wings, rising very quickly into the sky. The eagle's normal speed was apparently similar to that of a dragonfly, but in compensation, its dive could easily surpass 200 km/h, even reaching the mark of 300 km/h. I feel as if I have binoculars in my eyes, being able to adjust the distance to how far my eyes can see. It was a very unique sensation. Luka could even see from high in the sky the wings of insects beating while they flew. Together with the other abilities that enhanced his vision, Luka felt a little dizzy. I feel as if I'm wearing prescription glasses for the first time. That said, he was happy with this new ability. Chapter 11. Great Sage. Mission: The Path of a Ninja Slime 2, successful. Rewards: 2x lottery spin plus 600 points plus 400 XP. When the clone arrived at the bathroom, the mission was completed and a new one was generated. Mission: The Path of a Ninja Slime 3. Objective: learn and demonstrate the 3 basic ninja skills in front of all classmates. Rewards: 3x lottery spin plus 700 points plus 500 XP. This one will be easy too, he thought. In the bathroom, Luka made the switch. The instant the clone was undone, the clone's memories were transferred to him. Nothing important happened, he thought. It was mostly basic and boring classes. Leaving the bathroom, he waited in the hallway outside, leaning against the wall with his hands in his pants pockets. Did you wait long? Coming out of the girl's bathroom, drying her hands with a tissue, Maki asked as she approached him. No, he took his right hand out of his pocket. Shall we? Putting the tissue in her pocket, Maki held his arm. What do you think we'll have for dinner? Maybe stuffed roasted chicken, he replied. Taking his words as truth, she started drooling a little. I can't wait for that. Hey, I said maybe, don't take it as certain. She smiled brightly. No, I believe in Onichan. Quote. Hearing that, Luka thought, I guess I'll have to beg mom to make it or else. Walking while talking, they arrived outside. Onichan, what did you think of the first day of school? Maki asked. Normal, I guess, he replied. Simple, you mean? She laughed a little. Well, he didn't deny it, adding, maybe it'll get more interesting later. Maybe, she agreed. Outside the ninja school gates, their parents were waiting for them. Dad, Mom, Maki ran to them, hugging them. Luka approached calmly. All right, kids, Minato said. Today we're eating out. Yay, Maki threw her hands up while on Minato's lap, celebrating. Kushina had a gentle smile with her eyes closed. -0. Later, a few hours after returning from the restaurant. Lying on the single bed, Luka opened his eyes. Shop. Open corner bracket amount. 1 lottery spin, 6 lottery spins. Buy now. 600 points, he muttered mentally. Do the 10 lottery spins. 1. 2x express pill 50,000 express each. 2 10x smoke bomb. 3. 1x god seed. 4. Extra life necklace. A necklace that brings luck just by wearing it around the neck. Whoever wears it has an extra life. After dying once, it will be destroyed. 5. 5,000 gold coins 99.9%. 6. Ninja kit. 7. Plus 50 points. 8. Great Sage Platinum LV 0.100%. 9. Badman's Utility Belt. 10. Plus 150 points. The first thing he did upon seeing this was consume the express pills. Plus 100,000 EXP. Now, the main reward. I want to learn the skill, Great Sage. You learned. Great Sage Platinum LV 0.100%. Boom. Something in his mind seemed to explode. Soon, he felt an abnormal change throughout his entire existence. When he came back to his senses, Great Sage had completely integrated with him. This was the skill that helped Rimuru the most. It was an enormous gain. To him, Great Sage was something even better than the Acknowledge template. And, it's not because he couldn't use it, even if he could assimilate Acknowledge without worrying about being influenced or worse, devoured, he would still prefer gaining Great Sage. With this, I can literally replicate items that I devour and analyze in my stomach with Great Sage, as well as increase the rate of me obtaining new mimicries. There couldn't be a better skill. If it weren't nighttime, he would be laughing out loud. Besides that, not counting the 5,000 gold coins he had just gained, there was also the briefcase filled with gold bars. For now, I don't need to make use of it, but gold is always useful to have. Very well, it was time for a real test. Great Sage, are you there? In his field of vision, something futuristic took the shape of the word less than yes greater than, followed by a female voice in a neutral tone. That made him excited. Great Sage, what are your effects? He wanted to confirm whether it was exactly as he imagined or not. Less than answering. The skill, Great Sage, has the following effects. Less than p greater than. Thought increases mental processing speed by 1,000 times. Analysis and judgment, the ability to analyze and make judgments regarding a target. Parallel processing, the ability to separate thoughts and analyze phenomena. Seal nullification, when using jutsu, hand seals are no longer necessary. All of creation, the ability to comprehend any non-concealed phenomenon in this world. These 5 are its abilities greater than. Exactly as I imagined, he hummed happily, thinking, no, actually it's even better. After all, I didn't expect it to adapt and obtain seal nullification. There was no doubt at all that not needing to form seals was a gigantic advantage. Whether because of attack speed, or even becoming unpredictable, since without seeing what kind of seals he made, there was no way to know what kind of power he was going to use. Is it possible to link with the skill, Predation? Less than answering. Yes, it is possible. Do you wish to link now? Yes, no. Greater than. Yes. There was no change that he could feel, but. Great Sage, analyze the magic towel that cleans any stain. Less than yes. Greater than. He saw a holographic page that demonstrated a complex analysis process. It was very similar to item crafting in a game, but a little different at the same time. Less than the analysis has been completed. Less than p greater than. Magic towel that cleans any stain. A towel that can not only clean any stain from the body, but also body hair, which can leave the user bald greater than. Exactly what was described earlier in the shop. Although no additional information, it did not disappoint him. Picking up the extra life necklace, he used it. It was a simple looking necklace, a black cord with a green 4-leaf clover shaped pendant. Soon, he opened the shop again and there, deleted 2 items, spatial motion gold LV.1, thought acceleration gold LV.1. He had already bought them. There was no longer any need to keep them. Actually, it was really a shame to have bought thought acceleration, since Great Sage possessed precisely that ability. New synthesis gold LV.1 allows the creation of new abilities derived from old abilities, combining abilities to create more powerful ones. Abilities can be incorporated into objects. 50,000 points. New invisibility cloak. An invisibility cloak is a magical garment that makes its user invisible for a limited time. 5,000 points. Lucky, it was a good idea to have used the extra life necklace. Should I buy synthesis now? He was already starting to have abilities that practically had the same function. It would be good to merge and create something better. However, he was getting closer and closer to the 100,000 points needed to buy the devil's pieces. No rush. He thought, I don't want to regret it later. The devil's pieces would be better for me at the moment. After all, Mom and Dad won't be young forever. As painful as it was to have something so good within his reach, but still have to ignore it, Luka had his priorities. About to close the shop, he thought, if I buy and use Predation on the invisibility cloak, will I gain the ability of this item? Less than analyzing. There is a high chance of obtaining the item's ability greater than. Hearing Great Sage's answer, Luka's eyes shone. It's not a bad ability to have. He thought, tempted. As a ninja, being invisible is something vital. Even if it was only as an item, it was still very good. When he had points to spare, he could buy one for his family. 5,000 points. The invisibility cloak has been deposited into your stomach storage space. Without hesitating, he commanded, Great Sage, use Predation on this item. Less than affirmative. Less than P greater than. Analyzing the invisibility cloak. Successful. Invisibility silver LV 0.100% acquired. Greater than. All the knowledge of the ability was passed on to him. Instinctively, he knew how to use it. Chapter 12. Having the Great Sage makes all the difference. Puyin. Ever since he acquired the skill, invisibility, Luka decided to be bolder. Instead of going to school, he switched places with a clone halfway there while he himself stayed invisible in the form of a little blue bird. It was easy to leave Konoha like that. No one noticed him until then. He then returned to the river where he first appeared. Not because of sentimental value or anything like that, but because it was a very hidden place, and it also had many different kinds of insects. With invisibility active, he approached a deer that was drinking water from the river. Even with the sound of puyin, as he jumped, the deer didn't detect him, despite seeming to glance in the direction where it heard the sound. Jumping higher, Luka landed on the deer's back. Finally the deer reacted, but before it could run away, Luka heard the Great Sage's voice. Less than activate skill, Predation. Yes, no, greater than. Yes. In the next instant, his slime form stretched enough to cover the deer's body, neutralizing its limbs, soon covering it completely. Less than Predation successful. Less than P greater than. 1. Enhanced senses iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. Spatial intelligence iron LV 0.100% acquired. 3. You acquire the basic senses of a deer. 4. It becomes possible for you to transform into a deer. 5. Plus 20 XP. 6. Plus 2 points greater than. Unlike the other times, this time the process took longer, however, the chance rate of obtaining mimicry increased by at least 50%. It was a gigantic leap. Not to mention that, despite being indifferent, it was cooler to hear the Great Sage's voice than the cold voice of the system. Great Sage, how does the skill, spatial intelligence, work? He asked mentally. Less than answering. You can measure distances and evaluate the environment by moving your head greater than. As soon as he heard the answer, he tested it and indeed, it was possible to do that. This could be really useful. Acquiring these two new skills also made him think that, if he kept increasing his arsenal of skills, soon he would have so many skills that he wouldn't even know which one to use. Sometimes, having too much is not the best result. After I get the devil's pieces, my priority will be obtaining the skill, synthesis. Transforming into a deer, he noticed that his fur had become predominantly golden. The antlers on his head extended in a way that resembled tree branches with dragon claw-shaped tips. Deer were good swimmers, capable of crossing rivers and ponds. Luka jumped into the river and dived. Seeing a fish, he transformed into a slime. Hydraulic propulsion. With control and precision, he engulfed the fish. Less than activate skill, Predation. Yes, no, greater than. Yes. Less than Predation successful. Less than P greater than. 1. Stress resistance iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. You acquire the basic senses of a tilapia. 3. It becomes possible for you to transform into a tilapia. 4. Plus 1 XP. 5. Plus 1 points greater than. Luka changed form into a tilapia. Unlike the gray tilapia, he became golden, reflecting the sunlight on his golden scales with 20 centimeters in length. Swimming, he approached another tilapia and devoured it. Besides gaining a few express points in the stress resistance skill, he didn't gain another skill. I thought it would give me a swimming skill or maybe, fins. Less than predation successful. Less than p greater than 1. Tilapia fins iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. Plus 1 XP. 3. Plus 1 points greater than. As soon as he thought that, upon devouring another tilapia it actually happened that he gained fins as a skill. There are many fish here, all eat some of these, increasing these skills, then move on to the next targets. He thought, if he followed the river, perhaps if he appeared in a larger area, he would find sharks, but no rush, something of that size can wait until later. His priority right now is not quality, but quantity. Less than predation successful. Less than p greater than 1. Gill breathing iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. Plus 1 XP. 3. Plus 1 points greater than. It's not very useful for me who doesn't need to breathe oxygen, but it's better to have it than not have it, I guess. Transforming into a tilapia again, he went toward the next victim. Less than predation successful. Less than p greater than 1. Ectothermy iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. Enhanced senses, lateral line iron LV 0.100% acquired. 3. It becomes possible for you to transform into a trahira. 4. Plus 1 XP. 5. Plus 1 points greater than. My successful predation rate is around 70%, I think. If he continued at this pace, soon he would have the mimicry of every fish in this river. A few minutes later, besides improving the skills already acquired and gaining express and points, no new skill was acquired. Jumping out of the water like a tilapia, Luka changed form into an eagle, becoming invisible right afterward. Flying, his eagle eyes noticed something in the distance. Like an arrow shot, he headed in that direction. In front of him was a beehive. In the air, he transformed into a semi-transparent golden slime cloak, but until then, invisible to the naked eye. Something inside or near the hive sensed his presence and tried to escape, but it was not fast enough. Less than activate skill, predation. Yes, no, greater than. Covering the hive and everything around it, even the tree branch that was being used, Luka exclaimed, yes. In his mind. There were many bees trying to escape, but their struggle time did not last long before being dissolved, then analyzed and then absorbed. Only at this moment did he understand that he was wrong, very wrong. His skill, thought acceleration, when used by the great sage together with the skill itself, analyzed the hundreds of thousands of bees even faster. It didn't even take a second to calculate that there was a total of 53,987 bees in the hive. And the result was, less than predation successful. Less than p greater than 1. Ultraviolet vision iron LV 0.100% acquired. 2. Polarized perception iron LV 0.100% acquired. 3. Vibrational sensitivity iron LV 0.100% acquired. 4. Enhanced smell iron LV 0.100% acquired. 5. Venomous stingers iron LV 0.100% acquired. 6. Agile flight iron LV 0.100% acquired. 7. Reaction speed iron LV 0.100% acquired. 8. Hive mind iron LV 0.100% acquired. 9. Fatigue resistance iron LV 0.100% acquired. 10. Temperature resistance iron LV 0.100% acquired. 11. Resistance to light toxins iron LV 0.100% acquired. 12. Honey production iron LV 0.100% acquired. 13. Pollination iron LV 0.100% acquired. 14. Bee wings iron LV 0.100% acquired. 15. Wax moth wings iron LV 0.100% acquired. 16. Enhanced hearing iron LV 0.100% acquired. 17. It becomes possible for you to transform into a bee. 18. It becomes possible for you to transform into a wax moth. 1953, 987x plus 1 EXP. 2053, 987x plus 1 points greater than. 2120x plus 1 EXP. 2220x plus 1 points greater than. Quote. This is a complete mess. In a good way, of course. It was so much information that his head started to hurt a little, but only a little. Soon it eased. Even so, it was ridiculous to see that although all low level, he had gained so many skills at once. Many of the skills he acquired worked passively. At that moment, Luka felt as if nothing could escape his enhanced senses. It was a feeling that made him start to deify himself. Honestly, he felt that something like this was not good to feel. I need to stay grounded, he thought. No matter how invincible he felt, that was only because the threat level he had been exposed to was minimal. As a former fighter, he understood very well what it was like to feel like that. The feeling of being better than others was stimulating, but at the same time, dangerous. Many powerful people fell because of their own arrogance, and he did not want to be one of them. This won't work. I need to ask Father to train with me. Only when he understood the vastness would he learn to be humble again. Chapter 13. Increasing the rank of Earth and Water Style. Ninja School. 0 practical classes, boring explanations about what it means to be a ninja, and a little about the 3 basic jutsu. Honestly, it was pretty boring. I wonder if the original managed to get some new skills and mimicry. The clone almost rested his head on the desk, wanting to sleep. Luckily, the end of class was approaching. Meanwhile, Luka, who had just devoured a lot of water and earth. Earth-style iron LV.999%, right-pointing arrow, Earth-style bronze LV.110%. Water-style iron LV.999%, right-pointing arrow, water-style bronze LV.112%. Natural energy, silver LV.2091%, right-pointing arrow, natural energy, silver LV.211%. Chakra, silver LV.294%, right-pointing arrow, chakra, silver LV.2999%. Finally managed to evolve my water and earth styles. Besides that, I'm one step away from evolving my chakra. Calculating the time, he thought, okay, I've stayed here too long already, it's time for me to go back. He could calculate the time perfectly thanks to the alarm clock he got earlier that had Tsunade's sexy voice. Although he didn't dare use it as an alarm at home, it was still useful to avoid losing track of time. Transforming into an eagle, he returns to the village. Hydraulic propulsion, whoosh, boom. The instant he used this skill at full power, a sonic boom echoed. So, this is the difference between water-style iron and bronze. If this already made him surpass the speed of sound, even if only for an instant, he could barely wait to reach an even higher rank with water-style. -0. Less than 100 meters away from the clone, Luka, who arrived at the school, managed to communicate with the clone almost like telepathy. Hive mind. The instant he got close, he strangely felt the clone's own mind, managing to communicate through thoughts. It was similar to talking with Great Sage. Drop a pencil on the floor, go pick it up and become invisible right after. A simple command. Even though he didn't know how the real body achieved such an ability, the clone obeyed. The instant the clone stood up and pretended to pick up a pencil from the floor, he became invisible, and Luka, who was invisible, took his place. It all happened very quickly. Even if someone kept watching and saw that Luka did not appear exactly in the same position he was crouching in, it didn't matter. At most, they would think they imagined it. Placing her hand on the side of her face to whisper to him, Maki whispered, "Hey, Onichan. Tomorrow there will be practical class, right?" He nodded in agreement. "Right." Then, she asked, "Can you help me train when we get back?" Smiling, he replied, "But of course." She let out a spirited but quiet, "Yay." When the final bell rang, Onizuka-sensei said, "Okay, don't forget what I told you and I'll be waiting for you tomorrow." Stand up, Bo. A girl took the initiative, and soon everyone said in unison, "See you tomorrow." Hinataken, "See you tomorrow." Luka said, "See you tomorrow." She replied in a gentle tone. "Onichan, let's go already." Maki grabbed his arm, pulling him. "Yes, you don't need to pull me," he said. "Come on, hurry." She ignored what he said, continuing to pull him out of the classroom. Luka showed an ironic smile, letting her continue pulling him. "Ah, he's gone." Ino, seeing Luka being pulled by Maki, let out a soft sigh. Sakura, on the other hand, was staring dreamily at Sasuke. Ino, seeing her like that, raised an eyebrow, thinking, "Ah. To think I was almost like her, attracted to Sasuke-kun, but, for me, Lukaken is more charming." Come on, Sakura. Ino crossed her arms with Sakura's, pulling her. Wait, Ino. Sakura stretched her hand in Sasuke's direction. Sasuke-kun, see you later. She looked like a young girlfriend saying goodbye to her boyfriend at the airport. -0. Namikaze house. Most of the day, Minato stayed at home with Kushina. Something few people knew was that most of the time, the one doing the Hokage's work was nothing more than a clone. Today was no different. At home, Minato was talking with his wife. In the living room, there were talismans that isolated sound. The conversation they were having was not something that could be overheard, which is why there was so much caution. After serving a cup of tea to Minato, Kushina sat beside him. Holding his free hand, she asked, about Shisui. No one found out about his eyes and what he did, right? No, and it's better to keep it that way. Minato's expression became very serious. It's not that I didn't trust the third Hokage, but I feel that if he knew, Danzo would end up knowing too. You did the right thing. She tightened her grip on his hand. I feel a very bad vibe coming from Danzo, I even think. She didn't continue, but Minato seemed to understand. His eyes narrowed, a trace of anger appeared on his face, then soon returned to normal. He changed the subject. Thanks to the well-elaborated plan I made with Shisui, the Uchiha clan calmed down. It also reduced some of the Uchiha's arrogance, as well as the prejudice people had against them. That's good. Kushina finally smiled. After all, I don't want some unfortunate accident to happen, whether with my family or with my friends. Or more specifically, her best friend, Makoto. You could call it feminine intuition. Earlier, when she first heard from Minato that the Uchiha clan was acting strange, she felt that her friend, Makoto, was in danger. That feeling continued until Shisui used Koto Amatsukami. After that, she felt immense relief. It was as if an image of Makoto being murdered shattered into pieces and a new happy image replaced it. And how is the situation with the other villages? Kushina asked. They are calm, too calm. Minato replied, closing his eyes, massaging between his eyebrows. I feel that something could happen at any moment. Even if it's not exactly now, but in the near future. Yes, their behavior is very strange. She became thoughtful, but soon a provocative smile curved on her lips. But, isn't that because of my hubby? Minato was not someone who liked to brag, but he was still human. When he saw his wife's provocative, yet flattering manner, he pretended to stay calm as he said, I didn't do anything special. Just my best. When she heard that, Kushina let out a contagious giggle. She seemed to be recalling a scene that happened when the Cloud Ninjas tried to kidnap the princess of the Hyuga clan, Hinata Hyuga. We're back, soon, Maki's voice echoed through the house. Quickly, Minato and Kushina removed the talismans from the walls, and the entire atmosphere around them changed completely. Chapter 14, Acknowledge. Wearing training clothes, Luka and Maki went to the training room. The training room was an area disguised as a basement. The room itself had been covered with barriers and seals, reinforcing it to the point that even serious attacks from Minato were incapable of destroying it. Onichan, get ready. On the opposite side of him, Maki assumed a karate stance. Ever since she turned 5 years old, Luka taught her karate. Although it wasn't the only fighting style he knew, karate seemed to be more compatible with her. There was also kenjutsu. Over the last few months, he felt that she was being shaped into a samurai. Sometimes, that was the impression he had of her. It wasn't just because of her fighting style, but rather, her posture itself. Now, although he said he taught her karate, it was on another level compared to what he used on Earth. Even as a child, Maki's strength surpassed that of 10 adult men. That wasn't all. Her amount of chakra was equivalent to at least 100 Kakashis. As an Uzumaki, she inherited the best genes from her mother. When she moved, it was like a blur to the naked eye. Her speed went from 1 to 100 km/h in the blink of an eye. By the time she reached Luka, her speed had already reached 150 km/h. Dumb. Her right hand was cocked, and when launched in a downward-facing fist punch, the fist spun through the air, creating a vacuum, and then, a sonic explosion came. If Luka were a normal child, the chances of surviving would be practically zero. However, to him, even at the speed of sound, that looked slow. He dodged smoothly, almost as if he were dodging a punch from an ordinary child. The corners of his lips rose slightly, adorning a faint smile. With this level of strength and speed, she doesn't need to worry about tomorrow's practical class, but although that was true, he wasn't going to tell her that now. It was better for her to feel a bit of pressure now. And, when she finally saw the true level of her classmates, he could barely wait to witness her reaction. Several minutes later, "Kids, dinner is ready." Hearing their father's voice, Maki in particular, who was sweating a lot, stopped, panting. "I'm going to take a shower first." She dashed toward the stairs. Shaking his head, Luka smiled afterward. -0. Before, perhaps it was impossible, but now. Acknowledge a template, an item with great power, but one he couldn't use. But, was that really the case? Or rather, did it still remain something he couldn't use? "Great Sage, if I start assimilating the Acknowledge a template," he asked, "what are the chances of me being affected? Or rather, is there an approach that lets me assimilate it without affecting me?" Less than analyzing. Greater than. In Luka's mind, it was like seeing a world of infinite possibilities. Calculations upon calculations were made, images, letters, everything appeared at the same time like in Matrix, but at the same time, different. Less than result. Less than p greater than. It is possible, but the way you are now, it will take 20 years to assimilate the Acknowledge a template. The process will be carried out with the Great Sage using Predation on whatever is assimilated slowly. Thus, there will be zero risk of affecting you. Greater than. It really is possible. 20 years is a long time, but there is a big what if. He continued without improving, merely continued as he was, but considering his progress, perhaps he could shorten that assimilation by a few years, maybe even manage, who knows, to assimilate it in 10 years. It's worth trying. As for that, there is no doubt. Picking up the Acknowledge a template card, Luka held it and saw the Assimilate option appear. Upon clicking, he had the options fast, medium, slow. He clicked on slow. Less than you have started your first assimilation. Greater than. Luka murmured in his mind afterward. Great Sage, the rest is up to you. Less than yes. Greater than. Great Sage replied with unwavering confidence. +1 XP. +0, 1 point. 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 Roughly every 2 seconds, the EXP and point notifications appeared. Turn off the point and express notifications related to Acknowledge a. The moment he issued that command, the notification stopped. Sigh. Now he understood exactly how he was going to assimilate Acknowledge a, but he also understood how long that could take. It was truly slow, but constant. Even without doing anything, he could live like a sloth and still become powerful. On average, every 24 hours, he should obtain 40,000 EXP and 4,000 points, passively. That's only considering the express and points, not to mention the power source. It didn't create a new power source, but rather, it was feeding natural energy and chakra as well. Honestly, it's better this way. Although having more than one power source is good, it's better to raise something that is already high to something even higher. For now, I haven't inherited any of Acknowledge's powers, but no rush. It doesn't matter if it takes 1 or even 2, 3 years. The important thing is to continue passively gaining Acknowledge's power. -0. The next morning, eating breakfast, Luka could feel his power overflowing. In fact, he had a strange feeling that now, his chakra and natural energy no longer had limiters. That is, the moment he reached the maximum of silver, which is very close to happening with his chakra, Luka would advance directly to rank gold. Status, he thought, eating half of a fried egg. Open corner bracket, Luka Namikaze. Species, slime title, none level, 16 153.457 230.000 template. Acknowledge a 0, 0.051375% points, 67.864. As expected, I'm assimilating 0.0137% per day. He thought, if it continues like this, indeed, it will take 20 years until I finally completely assimilate Acknowledge a. But that will not remain unchanged. I believe that as the rank of my natural energy and chakra increases, the assimilation speed will also increase. Especially when I obtain the devil's pieces. Finishing eating, he put his hands together. Thanks for the meal. You're welcome, Kushina said with a gentle smile. I'm done too. Maki put her hands together. Thanks for the meal. Chapter 15. Chakra Gold. With the existence of Acknowledge, Luka didn't feel the need to use the clone as a disguise to go, Tron. Not to mention that, now with invisibility, if he wants, he can do it after returning from school. I don't need to risk getting caught at school, he thought. Although I highly doubt my clone would end up dying, for X reason, I don't see the need to take risks if I have better options. Chakra Silver reached LV.29 100% and evolved into Chakra Gold LV.100%. In Luka's body, it was as if something had exploded, forcing an expansion. Thanks to the Great Sage, everything was perfectly controlled with surgical precision. With my current amount of chakra, I should be able to create around 100 shadow clones. That is if he wants them to be at an acceptable level. Thanks to his abilities, especially the Great Sage who possesses parallel thoughts, it's easy to deal with a possible mental overload. Much less with extreme physical fatigue. Hey, Onichan, yes, I'm Moto, younger sister. Just listen. She let go of his hand, grabbing his arm with her hands in a more intimate way. Do you think you'll do well today, Onichan? You can bet on it. He replied. Hee, I believe in you. She smiled brightly at him as she leaned to the side. The top-down view he had of her like that was very cute. He extended his hand and lightly pinched the tip of her nose, making her smile even more. As they walked together, Maki had a lingering suspicion. Why do I feel like Onichan changed again? This tingling sensation, although it's not as strong as what I feel from Mom, it's getting stronger and stronger. What exactly is this after all? If I ask, will Onichan know how to answer me? Shaking her head lightly, she decided not to dwell on it. Luka, Maki, good morning. Shikamaru greeted them in front of the school. Good morning. The two replied in unison. Yawn. Shikamaru grumbled while yawning. What a drag. Lukaku, Makichan, good morning. Ino approached them while waving cheerfully, but her smile disappeared, turning into a blank expression when she noticed who was beside them. Ah, for you too, Shikamaru. Ooh, so cold. Shikamaru put his hands behind his head. Well, whatever. Ino simply rolled her eyes adorably, then held Maki's arm. Hey, Makichan, where did you buy this ribbon? So adorable. Hee, Onichan made it for me. Maki said happily, bragging. Very beautiful, right? So jealous. Ino sighed, stealing a few glances in Luka's direction. Is that Naruto-kun? Ino pointed toward a boy on top of the school roof. Yes, that's him, Luka confirmed. Wow, what is he doing up there, seriously? Shikamaru said in a bored and tired voice. HMPH, he must be trying to show off. Ino snorted. Do you remember what he said when introducing himself on the first day? I don't see any problem with it. Luka said. It's normal to aim to become Hokage while wanting to be a ninja. You're absolutely right, Lukaku. Ino said with stars in her eyes. Then, her expression changed, as if thinking of something absurd. I don't know. I just didn't like the way he said it. I understand you. Maki crossed her arms. If someone is going to become Hokage one day, it will be my brother, right, Onichan? Who knows? Luka gave a mysterious smile. The truth was that he didn't feel very attracted to the Hokage title. Although it wasn't a hereditary position, he felt that if he really wanted it, it was something that would eventually be his. However, how to say it, it was simply unattractive. Continuing to walk, Naruto jumped from the roof, stopping in front of Luka. Naruto had black eyes and spiky dark brown hair. He wore a black mesh shirt underneath a white and black jacket. His pants were orange with black and he wore ninja flip-flops. Pointing his finger at him confidently, Naruto said, Luka, I challenge you. What is this idiot talking about? Ino was incredulous. Even Shikamaru showed a bit of surprise. Maki furrowed her brows, thinking, he wants to challenge Onichan. Sure, what do you want to challenge me in? Luka asked with some interest. Of course in today's practical class. Naruto said with his loud voice, whoever gets the best result will be the winner. Fine by me, Luka replied. Then it's settled. Naruto hit his closed fist against his chest. In this competition, I will be the winner, I'm sure of it. Then, he ran inside the school. What's his deal, seriously? Ino crossed her arms with a blank expression. Luka narrowed his eyes and, shortly after, an amused smile adorned his lips. His expression was captured by Ino, who forgot everything that had happened before and clasped her hands together, her eyes shining. looking like a little girl in front of a very beautiful toy in a store display, something she would love to have. He is funny. Maki said that, but she didn't seem to find it funny at all. So cold. Kiba, who had approached, rubbed his arms while saying that. Really, Choji, who had also just arrived, didn't seem to feel the same. In the classroom, almost everyone was agitated. Although they weren't going to have a test itself, since it would be their first practical class, it was difficult not to feel excited and nervous about it. As soon as Onizuka-sensei entered the classroom, the atmosphere changed. Walking to the desk, Onizuka-sensei picked up the attendance book. Okay, you little brats. I'll start attendance. As soon as attendance ended, Onizuka-sensei closed the book with a snap and said, very well. No one is absent. Now, let's all go outside. As soon as he finished speaking, the classroom became filled with noise again. Author Patreon, patreon.com/dog2x. To be continued.